We're live.
We are live. Hey, everybody. This is John from Primetime Music Videos, and I'm here with Robert, Nisa, and Hagbard, and we're all here to just kind of talk about a certain amount of things, and we're going to move pretty quickly through things as quickly as we can. So it is an open chat, so if you see this and you want to get in, just send me something on Twitter, and I will put you right in. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves. Robert, why don't you go, and then Nisa, and then Hagbard.
Hi, I'm Robert Como. That's my name. That's my face on my icon there. I've met all of you through Twitter, through the Flying Monkeys. It's good to finally say hi to you all. And there we go.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, I just flashed back to an AA meeting, sorry.
Got me now, right?
I wish I was an alcoholic. I might be a little higher on the shitlord scale, or a little lower. I don't know how it works.
What, people being sorry for you?
Yeah.
Scoring the pity scale?
Yeah, I don't have. I can't play the alcoholism victim card.
I'm sure you can play some card.
Hey, wait a second. Do not put alcoholism in his victimhood, sir. I take great offense to that as a rampant alcoholic.
Oh, sorry, I triggered something. I forgot the warning. I forgot the trigger warning.
Trigger warning. And
Okay.
Nisa?
Hi, I'm Nisa. I'm from Portugal. I have a lot of interests, and I'm quite interested in world politics and everything that's going around a global society. I don't see myself as expert on my country or any other country. I like to talk about everything. And that's it. That's me.
Awesome. And then Hagbard, kind of the inspiration behind this hangout.
I'm a big fat nobody on the internet that makes fun of ridiculous people I find on YouTube. That's the equivalent of me. I'm a pseudo-intellectual Westerner.
Awesome. So this hangout kind of started with me and Hagbard. We were in another chat with Lalo, Anthony, and I think a couple other people. And Nisa, you were in that hangout, I believe, right?
The one with Devin and a lot of people? Was that one?
No, Devin wasn't there. It was the one that we had. I think it was a slumber party.
It's the one that got tagged.
Yeah, where we were watching the British video.
Yeah, I joined like for 30 minutes. I wasn't in the whole time.
Yeah. So we kind of cut that one short. So this one was just kind of almost continue that one and further on.
I actually want to introduce the topic here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching Hagbard's video that he made for concerning Hamza Chorsky.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my God! I haven't seen any videos like really going after him, so that was new. Because that the Lawrence crowd. What?
He's utterly loathsome.
Yeah, dude, it's. I don't know if I'm too dumb to understand his thinking or if I'm too smart to understand his thinking. Because he doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's the latter, dear. If he made sense to you, you would be part of the deluded people that could be apologized to for religion.
Yeah, of course. And I think he gives a bad name to philosophy.
Yeah, what he does is not philosophy.
He claims it is. He claims he's a philosopher.
That was my first major. That's what I did. That's why I say I'm a pseudo-intellectual Westerner, because my degree is useless.
But that, yeah, it's a very good degree to have. I mean, for personal interest, right? It's a personal interest. But I do realize that in the real world, if you're not going to teach it,
yes,
that's not much you can do with it.
Yes, and most colleges don't want someone with a record to teach, so I kind of shot myself in the foot.
Well, we actually can talk about that side note after. But coming back to Hamza. Did you see the debate with Lawrence Krauss?
I did. That's where I first fell into loathing with that gentleman.
No, it's seriously. I think that debate was pretty frustrating to me Like, I don't think that personally that it helps to have two people with completely different ways of seeing things crossed with his purely scientific worldview, and not being too keen on philosophy, even though he tries and he makes good points on it, and Hamza being totally relativistic about everything. You cannot get into any conclusion with that guy.
No, he's a postmodern soloplist. I mean, he's the worst kind of speaker. He's the kind of guy that in ancient Greece, it was a law that if someone practiced the kind of speech he did, that he would be killed in the street. There's a reason for that.
He totally misrepresents Greek philosophy when he talks about it.
Yeah, that's because he doesn't understand it well.
And he also he goes back to definitions all the time. It's almost like he's the kind of person that would say, well, it depends on the definition, what the definition of is.
Yeah, it's absolutely
that kind of person.
It's absolutely that level of being willing to redefine and negotiate the definitions of words to suit his needs, and it's not even permanent. It's at any given time. It's not that even that definition he gives will he hold in a later debate. If it's brought back up to him, he'll shift the goalpost again.
Of course, it's with what he said about Occam's razor. I have never heard his definition of Occam's razor to apply to anything.
No, he always has to confound the issues. He can't actually use Occam's razor with his own philosophy because it would destroy the entire foundations of his philosophy. You have to come down to, again, his thing is the universe was created, but God was not, full stop. That was the part that I was like, I can't even face that. How do you just say that because? The universe had to have been created because it makes sense. God also, in his definition, seems to make sense. He makes sense of God. He has a whole manual and a book for it. And yet, no one created that. And then he goes on to say that the Quran is a maintenance or a manual, an operation manual for life and God, but then it says God wasn't created, but uses created objects to define that. It's completely insane.
And very
competing. If you find a boat on the shore, you just assume someone made it. You wouldn't assume God. It's like, yes, but a boat clearly has these human workings involved, whereas a lizard clearly does not.
He uses logic against itself.
Yes, and then I found that there was another paper I read by I can't remember his full name, Tala something Cotes, or he's an African American professor that used Western logic to prove that Western logic was white supremacist. But if you use the Western logic to come to that conclusion, how is that even possible?
It's a circular argument.
You see a lot of that. People rely on circular arguments because they feel like because it closed, it's good. No.
But do you think that has to do with not having the ability to see through that, to see through the bias or the preconceived notions they have when they go into the circular argument? Or do you think that they know they're doing that, so they're doing it on purpose, trying to convince people of their arguments?
I waffle on that. I go back and forth. Even I had the same problem with Majid Nawaz, where I'm half on the fence with him. Like, I want him so much to be a man of his word, but with so many people that hold faith above reason, their word doesn't mean anything because their God means more to them than their word. So it's a disquieting.
I'm having a little, when I think about it, when I think about Majid Nawaz, because I like what he says so much, but is it, I think to myself, is it intellectually dishonest of my part to be an atheist and being against religion and then support a guy that says that we should have this benevolent interpretation to the modern world, and therefore we can just live with it and and learn how to live with religion by our sides, which I know we have, but our ultimate goal is not to have that way of thinking any longer or make it not relevant anymore. So is it like...
That's a really good point, and I just wanted to point out that a lot of people will blindly follow somebody because they either work with somebody or they just like some of the stuff they do, and that's good that you can see, I like this guy, but I'm going to call him out on his bullshit, and I'm not going to just follow everything that he says blindly. I don't think just because he doesn't hold the same viewpoints, I think there's still a lot of relevant things that he does say. I personally don't follow him. I don't know if anyone saw him getting into it with God on
I
Twitter
did. It was
today.
very funny.
No,
It
no,
was
I
a bit.
didn't.
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't.
hilarious. God had said something about the book. I guess your book is just the end all be all about the situation and with the Muslim world. Because I guess maybe he doesn't agree with something he said, and Majid said, there's no need for that. And I mean, and he said, thank you, man, but I gotta get back to my scientific work. And I mean, it was very immature, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, you don't always have to end on the high ground. That's something
Right.
that I like that's come out of this, and you have to make fun of bad ideas. One of the first tweets I ever did, and I only got on Twitter in August. I haven't been on for very long. I got on YouTube in August as well. Um, I, 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 I tweeted Majid. Majid was actually the reason I got onto Twitter, was to argue with him.
Hmm.
Because I wanted so much for him to be what he's representing himself as. But I've read enough of his belief system's manuals that it makes me wildly nervous.
Well, he
Well,
did
that's
change. He did change his point of view, like when he's first starting debating and being an active voice to where he is now. I think he's much more sophisticated now when
I
he
agree.
talks about religion.
I agree. That's kind of what's brought me around, is that he is maturing in the public eye, which is hard to do while simultaneously being deceitful.
And he has no problem in going and really criticizing and being harsh on Islamists and
Unlike your
other
Reza
people.
Aslans and your Sunk Uyghurs and these shit eaters.
That's a
Robert.
completely lower viewpoint right there.
Yeah,
I think Majid Nawaz
exactly.
is just a completely different universe from those guys.
Precisely.
I wish every Muslim was like him.
Sorry to
We
interrupt
wouldn't be
you,
having this
Robert.
discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you kept up with this? Like, do you know what's going on here?
I haven't seen Hagbard's video. I'm kind of familiar with Majid Nawaz.
Okay.
I've done a little back and forth on Twitter with Gad, and he's just an impressive man right there.
Yeah.
I agree.
But Majid Nawaz, I gotta agree with that. I mean, the ideas that come from the Quran. I mean, you can only reform a religion so much with the ideas not changing in the books. I mean, I think Christianity has been about as neutered in the West as it can be, and we still see stuff, like parents
Well,
not taking their kids to the hospital, and that I'm just saying that even Reformed Islam, I think I just don't know how improved it can get with the ideas unchanging in the book.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the Ayan Hirsi Ali stance.
right.
Oh yeah,
And
she's
so to kind of get to his point, Majid, and I don't speak for him, but this is kind of my opinion of what I've seen and maybe what I'm thinking, is that if you look in, and this is so long ago, but before the Protestant Reformation, Christianity, you could almost look at it as the same thing. It was a violent, barbaric death cult, and the ideas in Christianity still are, but they don't practice those ideas because they had that Reformation. And I think that's what Majid is trying to call for.
exactly. Yeah, he is.
But how that actually works out in real life, today I
Well,
don't see that happening.
what I think it would what would happen is basically if they go through all of that, in which I mean Christianity just went through that through centuries and centuries, and we still have some problems with it in terms of some human dignity and equality and so on. If they go through that in a crash course. Islam goes through that reformation in crash course, which would just mean that when they get to the point where, let's see, where Catholicism is today, we would be able to openly criticize it. That's the only good thing about it.
Basically.
It would still be wrong. We would
And
still
in
go after it.
And the one thing I will say in Majid's defense that I've actually only recently come to terms with, he wants to see his son again. And his son will never come back and talk to him if he drops Islam. If he says he's not a Muslim anymore, his son absolutely will not come back to him ever. And he wants to see his son.
Yeah, I get it. Do you think he's a closet atheist?
How's this? I like to think that.
It's good enough for me.
If he is, he's a damn good troll.
You know, that's funny that you said that. That reminded me because I was watching that Ayan Hirsi Ali interview with Dave Rubin today. I don't know if any of you guys got to see that, but she was talking about her dad, and she will never be able to have contact with her dad anymore because of her views. And I mean, that just shows how hard it's got to be for some people, and her especially, to stand out and stand for what she believes, and be separated with her family because of it.
And Majid can do much more working from within than from outside. Otherwise, he would be shut down on the basis that he's an atheist, or he's not a Muslim anymore. He would be shut down constantly.
Right, like Ayan. I mean, she basically almost has no influence within the Muslim world anymore, at least from what I've seen. You know what I mean? They're not going to listen to her. They're not going to listen to anything. She has dishonored her family.
She's a dirty kuffar. I mean,
right. Right.
But
anyway,
the left supports that, and the freaking regressives support that whole narrative. Which,
oh, by the way, if you guys want to have fun on YouTube, type in the word kuffar. And just watch what people say about it. Just look at these dirty kuffar, and it's just nothing but Islamic videos about anyone who's not a Muslim, and how, fucking non-Muslim women aren't real women. They've been taught to be whores. They deserve to be raped. That's what the kuffar teaches. It's real lovely.
Oh, yeah, I saw a story about the huge rise of rapes in Sweden.
Yeah, it's lovely.
They started letting all those immigrants in, and it's almost from what I read, it was entirely immigrants, Middle Eastern men committing these rapes, and there was a quote about that one of the suspects had given that was like their rapes are not to be taken as seriously as like a rape of a Muslim woman because they're kafar.
Yeah.
It's
oh my God!
There
was actually a story in Sweden that reminded myself of the whole racial narrative in America. Was the one that I don't know when it wasn't that long ago. This immigrant I think he was Ethiopian or Somali, I don't know. He was from sub-Saharan Africa.
He was Somali.
Somali, okay. So he went into IKEA and killed a bunch of Swedes, right?
Yeah, he was Somali.
And then he said that he did that because he wanted to kill white Swedes, people who look like Swedes.
Yeah, they look like native Swedes.
Yeah, and the media just reported that as being, this was unfortunate.
A murder. It was just a murder. Yeah, it sucked.
And now with the high in Trollhättan, they just said, oh, he was a racist.
Yeah, do you watch The Angry Foreigner?
I watched one of his videos.
He just did a video about that a little while ago, and it was just exactly what you just said. He was like, this is ridiculous. This kid goes out and does it, and it's racially motivated. It's all over the news. This guy does it, and it's racially motivated, and they definitely don't want to say that.
Yeah, my brother is in Sweden, so...
Oh, for Christ's sake, I'm sorry to hear that.
Dude, I was supposed to...
Tell him to get the fuck out.
Oh, really? He loves it there.
I always wanted to I always said, like, I wanted to move to Sweden until I started paying attention to all this social justice fucking nonsense.
I was supposed to join him. Now I don't know. I was supposed to have an online course in Swedish because they do ask for the language. They ask for the language. It's just mandatory now. Even if you're not going to use it much, or even if you're going to speak English the whole way through, you need to have basic Swedish to get a job there. But now I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. Now I'm scared to go there. And it was always a country that I have great admiration for, and I always wanted to go there. Even if it's just for the fact that they have awesome music.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, and I mean, it'd be kind of cool to break it down into a game theory. Hagbard, I think you'd be really good at analyzing this and maybe commentating on it, and all of you would, but I think Hagbard especially. So, I
love game theory. Go on.
Yeah, so you live on Island A, right? Mm-hmm. And you are a green person, and you are green because you are the same nationality as the people from Island A, but you are separated by your political ideology. So people with the other political ideology would be the blue people. So the green people and the blue people don't agree on much. Well, Island B just had a really, really bad flood or whatever. Anything that's terrible is going on Island B. It's hell on earth over there. And so all the people from Island B, which are yellow people, are starting to come to Island A. And those people are starting to commit crimes, and they're starting to rape and steal, and they're trying to make their own laws on Island A, and they're not really joining in with Island A very well. They're really just trying to change the island. Would you be on the side of the people who don't want any more people from Island B to come over, or people who just want to welcome them with open arms? I think that really basically breaks down the different political ideologies from us and the regressives, is where it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. You know, you're being oppressed, you're being hurt, these people are ruining your country, but yet you are somehow mentally coerced into believing that this is the right thing to do.
There will be a new word for this. Whatever is happening in the West right now will create a new disease name, like Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
It's a cultural Stockholm syndrome, but Stockholm's exists when people actually hold physical, force-based power over you, and then you come to sympathize with them and desire their approval for the sake of your own safety. Now, that's different. That's almost like what we did to kings. That's fairly normal. However, what's happening now is we have the power to stop it, but for some reason we're so emotionally retarded. We're so culturally retarded that we can't see that this could actually pose a risk to us. I think part of it is just being cocky, frankly speaking. I think part of it is the West being cocky and thinking, well, our culture will figure it out. We'll fix it in 10 or 20 years, because we always have. But that's not how cultures work. You have to constantly fight to sustain a culture.
I can understand that, but I also think that I would be, again, I am in real life, I am very pro-immigration, but I stop at the line of it being sustainable. When it's not sustainable anymore, when you have to do what Sweden does, which is constantly borrowing money to deal with it, and not being able to train people properly in order to have a system of integration, it's just they're figuring it out as they go along, and that's not going to help.
And Nisa, I completely agree with you. I'm for immigration too. It's just that when I think of immigration as an established, good country, you want to bring in people that need help. You want to bring in people that want to better their lives, but you don't want to bring in people that don't want to better their lives, that want to ruin your lives. You know what I'm saying? And convert you.
Yeah, but how do you make that assessment when they're getting in? I mean, it's people can change through education and interaction.
No, that's true. That's completely true. But and that was a good question. How do you assess that? One of the things you can do is look at where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, why are they leaving the country that they were leaving? What happened there? Was it just a bad economic system, or did they destroy the country that they're coming from? You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying that, for example, I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit out of the thought experiment here.
Yeah, no.
To real issues. No. I'm sorry, but it's just the way for me it's better to understand things. For example, when in Sweden took a lot of Serbian and Kosovo people after the attack in 1999, they took a lot of these people, and they have developed and integrated. And I say integration. I'm not saying assimilation. I'm saying integration. Some assimilated, some integrated perfectly into Swedish society, and they don't pose any problems. Now, if that is not happening with specifically Islamic folk, that is not happening. I'm not saying that, for example, people that come from sub-Saharan Africa that are not Islamic, that they don't integrate. They do. It is happening a lot with Muslims, and I think that's something that needs to be investigated and thought out and see why this is happening and how can it be changed. I mean, we know why.
Let's take a second and introduce Carrie. Carrie, can you talk? Can you hear?
Well, it's funny because we're getting electronic noise from her, but no voice.
Yeah, but no voice. Yeah. Do you have any headphones plugged in?
got something going on.
Yeah.
I can hear some.
I'm gonna mute her for now, and we're gonna keep going. Just message me when you get set up, Carrie. But Hackbar, do you want
When it comes to the game theory thing that you brought up initially, I would just advise everybody look into the game of hawks, doves, and crows, and then see how those three populations interact. And it's an old game theory. I'm sorry, I just brain farted because of the ding. It's an old game theory, a mind thought experiment, where basically hawks have a tendency to fight over things using force, doves have a tendency to be peaceful, and crows have a tendency to steal things and only use intimidation but never true violence. So it's a game theory, and unfortunately what we have right now, we can now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we can now.
I still can't hear you guys.
Tell
That is
them.
fucked up.
Carrie, do you have headphones in?
I'll play with it for a minute and see what happens.
She can't hear
She
us,
can't
so.
hear us.
Sorry for interrupting.
Right.
But no, if you look that up, basically what we have now is the West is basically a bunch of doves with a few crows left over. We've bred most of the hawks out because they don't function in our society. Unfortunately, the other society has bred predominantly hawks because that's what works. They've got hawks and crows, we've got doves and crows. Now, if it comes down to a physical confrontation, who wins? We're going to have a problem.
But and I agree with you, but I think we've branded the hawks bigots. You know what I mean? And that's how we've kind of weeded them out of the conversation, of the changes that are being made.
Yeah, no, we've always it has to do with the feminism thing. It has to do with men in our society in the West have always had a place to be men, and we don't really have that anymore. That's considered offensive now. Almost the only bastion left of that is something I'm not even all that into, which is the MMA fighting. I'm into martial arts myself. I do martial arts, but I'm just not into MMA fighting because I think of the brain damage. That's all. I think of the brain damage. If MMA fighting toned it down with the headshots, maybe it would have a long-lasting future, but these guys are going to be on the same list of being wiped out like football was, like they've started, sucking football down the drain for the same reason, because but these are the things that were masculine in our culture.
Yeah.
And even now, they just have to be toned down because our culture no longer has the capacity to absorb the emotional impact of things like, we do a brain damage study. Well, we don't want to do that. When we hear that emotionally, we go, no brain damage.
There's even, it goes even further than that. There's been a lot of studies that have shown prevalence of domestic abuse in the MMA world, and even football too, but mostly in the MMA world, where the brain damage that some of these guys get, they're not necessarily saying that's the cause of it, but constantly training to fight, constantly fighting, and then you put someone like that in a domestic situation. I guess you would say
they lash out at everything.
Yeah, statistically, there's more people in that group that are going to lash out than a baseball player or a soccer player. Just comparative to the sports.
Well, and the other aspect of that, I think, is that these people are no longer honed in any way, shape, or form. When you become a football player, what do? You train and play football. That is all. You're not required to be an intellectual. You're not required to grow emotionally. You're not required to engage in society or politics. You're to play football. It's the same thing with wrestling and MMA. It's when you go for utter perfection in one area and you go for complete specialization. Our old heroes, think of Ulysses. Sure, he could fight, but he was a crafty fuck too. We don't demand that anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even soccer players in the past, they used to, I remember there was the Brazil team in the 40s and 50s. A lot of them were doctors.
Yes.
And engineers, and now it's just a bunch of they don't say anything right anymore. Well, maybe my experience with sports, I always thought that whenever I got too much into it, and I had that mindset of trying to be physically the best. I was being really lazy in regards to culturing my brain.
Of course. Of course.
So I
It's
can
very hard to
understand
maintain that rigor. It's hard to do
Yeah,
both.
it is.
Hey, do we have room for one more?
I have no objection.
I'm trying to get Lalo in. He's in the chat, but I'm trying to get him in. I don't know if he has time. I always want to respect his time because he's a very busy guy. But I saw him in the chat, so I'm trying to see if he'll come in.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Here.
Can we hear?
Okay.
Can you hear?
Okay. Yeah, I got it straightened out now.
Cool.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, Carrie.
I am Carrie Kidd. I, of course, am a fellow atheist. I live in Florida. I've seen most of you guys.
I'm sorry to hear that. You live in Florida? Oh.
I live in North Florida, actually, so it's not too bad.
Okay, is it the southern Georgia or southern Alabama portion of North Florida?
That would southern Georgia.
Okay, cool.
I'm
The southern
right at the
Alabama
line.
portion gets scary.
Yeah.
My
Without a
sister
doubt.
just moved to Florida. She got married last weekend. And
Oh,
moved to
really?
Florida. Yeah.
Where'd she move?
Off the tip on the little chain of islands.
Off the tip.
The
Off
Keys?
the little in the
Jesus,
Keys.
she moved to one of the Keys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well,
Must
that's
have married up.
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she did a good job. She did a good job.
I know what it costs to live in the Keys, man. My dad has a house down there. My dad has a small house down there that he uses.
Yeah,
to
that's
park
where
his
we go to
boat at.
vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm excited to go down and visit her. I've never been down to Florida.
You'll have fun. It's
Yeah, it's
really
fun.
cool out there. They have their own little. I mean, it's their own little world out there.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I talk Florida down because I had bad experiences in it, but I mean, it's great to go on vacation. It's just not where I wanted to live anymore.
Oh,
I don't blame you.
I just want to rent an airboat and just drive.
Oh yeah, that is so much fun, but man, you'd better have your hearing protection.
Yeah,
yeah.
or you won't have any hearing at all. The pressure
Worth
made
it.
by that giant fan is unbelievable.
It really is.
Worth it.
No,
Well,
I
you
actually have
guys-
a story about that. I have long hair and have since I was a young child, and you can imagine what the worst case scenario in an airboat with long hair is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Sit up
advise it.
front.
Yeah, I sit way up front.
Anyway.
Nisa, I don't think I've ever spoken with you.
We did. We did like once on a hangout with Devin.
Okay.
But I think what you heard me say was just a bunch of gibberish because I was really nervous.
Oh, okay. Because I do recognize your little your avatar,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
but I wasn't sure if I spoke to you or not.
I think it was like a little bit, but I was just putting my foot in my mouth.
Oh, we
during
don't do
the
that.
whole thing.
You fit in with the club.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so we're talking. Did you guys saw us Did you guys see the Washington Post article about this teacher in Texas that she said that she was doing like a thought experiment with 12-year-olds, mind you, 12-year-old kids, about which statements were fact, opinion, or fallacies, something like that. And then one of the statements was God is real or God exists or something like that. And this little kid said it was a fact, and the teacher said, no, it's not a fact. God is a myth. So the teacher called. Did you read that?
No.
Well, that
No,
is
no,
a
what
fact.
No. What the teacher said was that it's a commonly held assertion. It is not a
That
fact.
was the third thing. Was a
Yeah.
commonly held exactly.
Yeah, and the other one that was put in that category is the United States is the most free nation on the world. So I think it's funny that people jumped on the religious aspect, but I had
Religious and
absolutely no
not
love
that.
for that.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting story because they're going after a teacher now. This poor woman who's trying to teach kids critical thinking.
Of course they are. It's Texas.
Yeah, she's in Texas. She's in Texas.
I wouldn't expect anything else than
Hey,
she's
let's
going to get
let's
fired.
take
Hello,
1 second.
Lalo and
I want to
Isaac.
introduce Lalo. He really needs no introduction, but I am so happy he's here.
Hi, Lalo.
We
Lalo.
had a very long conversation the other day, and it got taken down. So this is kind of an opportunity for us to not fuck with YouTube. And we got Isaac here too.
Hello, Lalo and Isaac.
Hi.
Hi, Isaac.
How are you guys?
How you
Good.
doing, Isaac?
Did I
Good to
talk
finally say
before
hi to you.
Lalo? Did I say hi before Lalo did?
You there,
Lalo
Lalo?
was busy in the chat.
Yes, I win, Lalo. You suck again.
There's some anti-Semitism going.
He's constantly. You see, this is once again the Jews are oppressing the Palestinians always.
Lalo, people can see those bubbles. All right.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna post that on Twitter, and Reza's gonna.
Don't give them any more evidence than they need.
Screenshotted.
Screenshot it.
I actually go wildly out of my way in my videos when it comes to things like that. That even if I make edgy jokes, that I do the Devin thing. You cannot say something that's just going to be construed as racist, and it's not because I give a fuck what people think about me. It's because I associate with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's this restaurant now in what's the name of the place? Netanya, Israel. They were giving 50% off on meals if Arabs and Jews would eat together. If you got a little group, Arabs and Jews, they give 50% off. So there was this one guy who was Israeli, and he said, well, Jews love a bargain, so we're all up for it.
Oh my God.
If it was any other person saying that, it would be racist, right? But it was an Israeli saying that.
But it's just funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it's always you're allowed to make fun of yourself, but you're not allowed to make fun of anybody. And I think my biggest regret so far has just been willing to. I've apologized once, and that was one time too many for me. Like, I really wish I had not apologized whatsoever.
What about?
Just for saying sand nigger, a sand nigger joke.
Oh, fuck that. No,
You know what's
if
funny?
it's clearly in jest,
Who did you apologize to?
I didn't apologize to anybody in specific. I just said if people are offended by my crude language, I'm sorry. But
Oh, okay.
to everybody else, I don't give a fuck about, like.
No,
That's not
you're
an
good.
apology.
Yeah.
I was just
Right.
going to bring up the point when you
Well, I'm offended
apologized.
now.
It's not an apology because you're saying, I'm sorry that you're offended.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I'm writing about it. I mean, it's really a controversial, a language gun. It's a weapon in the language to just stifle the conversation completely.
Well, I don't use certain words. I don't like it. I just don't feel good using them. But that's me. It's just a choice I make. I don't. If other people want to say it.
But no, I'm talking about people that shame you after you say it. I'm saying that they'll no longer address your argument. They'll just say, "Oh, well, you said the N-word or whatever once online, and therefore you're like a part of the KKK Incorporated, and all of your arguments will never be addressed." Like, Hitler was an idiot, but I can say that because his ideas were ridiculous, but they made sense for what he did. Same with Stalin. Same with any great mistakes that have been made in the past century. But like trying to dismantle a person instead of the argument does nothing. Like, Hitler could have had good ideas. I'm sure Hitler had a few good capitalist ideas that we probably even use to this day. I'm certain of it.
I'm sure
He
we.
had
Well,
a
I
lot
know
of good
that-
military ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I lived with this girl. She was like in a big consultant company. She was in economics, and she used to say that Hitler's economic ideas were pretty good. And we sat down and discussed it, because I'm not going to judge her for saying that, because her point was that, oh yeah, like the whole Holocaust thing, that was like bad, but he was not that.
But Hitler had some good ideas.
Yeah. That was her point, and I remember being in front of her with this other friend of mine, and we were like, don't you ever say that to like any person.
Yeah, don't say
Well,
that
that's-
like, publicly.
Well, so that's the thing, though. But I completely support her right to say something like that, and I'm not going to be mad that someone's going to say something like that.
Well,
Like,
I wasn't, because I knew her. I knew how she was, and I know she was talking about only the economic side, the economic policies. So we just sat down and talked about the numbers.
To give
Only
you
that.
to give
But
you a
I
tangible.
did caution. What?
Just to give you a tangible example, my default picture is Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky did a civil war in which he killed like 6 million of his own men, 2 million just needlessly. I mean, he was an incredible war hero, but I mean, he did brutal tactics. He didn't win the war because he was a nice guy. That's a very shitty person to idolize in that manner, but I that's why I specifically choose his younger picture, because I associate with his Menshevik views that he had before all of that went out of hand. But so like you can even be someone that liked Hitler when he was young on the front lines in World War I, when he had this love for his German, Austrian, whatever pride that he had. And he spent the entire 4 years on the front line. I mean, he had mustard gas and chlorine gas he'd been afflicted with. In fact, that is the reason why mustard gas and chlorine gas were not used in the Second World War, because he had been singed by it, and he promised his men that they would never go through trench warfare, and he would never put them through chemical warfare. So he identified as an infantryman.
Oh,
he
how
identified
nice of
as a
him.
frontline man.
Just to clarify, we're not defending Hitler.
Hitler's amazing!
We're not really defending him. We're talking about one person that defended his economical policies,
Yeah.
which I actually didn't agree with, but she was the expert, so I don't know. And we're discussing the issue of the character.
Yeah, the ideas.
We really need to make the disclaimer all the time.
Horrible
That reminds
people
me
can
a
have
lot of
good
the-
ideas.
That reminds me a lot of the podcast that Lala was having with Dave. I think it was with Dave, when it was either with Dave or with Kyle, where they were talking about Hitler as kind of like the comparative, at the end all be all of evil in conversations, and maybe he can talk a little bit about that.
I can understand that. I can understand him being like one of the epitomes of evil.
I think the reason they would consider him the epitome of evil is not because, I mean, he didn't kill more than Mao. I mean, Mao killed a lot more than him. Stalin killed an incredible amount more of his own people.
Yeah.
An incredible amount. I mean, there's really no legitimate reason to consider him more evil, with the exception of his manipulations. He was incredibly smart. He was very manipulative. He was
an adroit politician.
Yeah, he was a great politician, and he took incredible risk. The first is it the first or second attack of the war? He just puts it all in. He does an all-in attack where basically he sends all of his men through some back road that if they had been caught at any point, they would have been unable to take over Poland, I think it was.
Yes, Poland.
They completely flanked them from behind, and he just went all in. I mean, the war could have been over that day. Second huge risk he took that fucked him was Stalingrad. And if he had won Stalingrad, he would have taken over Africa, which he should have done in the first place. But he would have taken over Africa and become unassailable. And if he had taken over Africa beforehand, he would have been unassailable, and we would have lost the war.
I think we might be talking to the next Hitler here. Like you got some plans. It sounds like.
I research history.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And it's what's crazy because you were comparing him to Stalin and the other people. They had a lot more people on their side that was helping them with what they were doing than Hitler too. I mean, wasn't it like something like 7% of the population was only?
Yeah. He was a minority. In fact, there was two communist parties that tried to rise to oppose Hitler in 1932 and in 1936, and both of them were obviously murdered by Hitler and his SS. Once that guy got a hold of any power and he was able to set up that structure, that was the end. I mean, once 7% of the population has enough power to start killing whoever they want, that's it. You're in a military state. An example, Sisi is a great example of that. Once you have control of the military, you've got control of the state.
Well, it wasn't that like in the beginning when the party started to having followers that the Republic, the Democratic side. I don't know. I remember the name of the party that was opposing him. That was in power at the time in Weimar.
The Communist Party was opposing him big time. They had lots of newspapers against them.
They did underestimated him.
Oh, everybody did.
Absolutely,
everybody did.
Because he got the support of the people pretty quickly.
He sealed away the Kaiser. the original king of Germany that started the First World War. He managed to get this guy to at the beginning of he makes him step down. He makes him give Hitler prime minister, essentially, or the prime minister that was there before. He makes him step down and then appoints himself prime minister, and then he seals away the Kaiser, so the Kaiser can't even be his opposition at any point. And the Kaiser wanted to be a part of the Nazi Party. I mean, he was okay with, he wanted to be a part of it. But he put him in the countryside and had him guard at all times for the whole 5 years of the war. The guy died in 1946. It's irrelevant. But, I mean, he was able to suppress a king's opposition. And people wanted the Kaiser back. It wasn't like they didn't want an alternative to Hitler.
Yeah, he was pretty good at manipulating against his opponents and dissidents.
Yeah.
That's why he rose. So.
I mean, nationalism, you say everybody's, you know, special, we're all super amazing and everybody else is not amazing. It's not hard to get the national people on that level on your side, I think. At least, especially at that time. I mean, when your economy's in absolute shambles. There was, just again going off topic really quickly, the Treaty of Versailles, the reason it was so cruel to the Germans was because of their rape, August 14th, 1914, of Bulgaria or Belgium. They raped and murdered over 5,800 people, and then the Austrians had publicly hanged and publicly impaled 3,000 Serbians, and they didn't even attempt to hide it. I mean, they were putting it in their newspapers to scare the guerrilla militias over there. That is why the Treaty of Versailles was so cruel to Germany.
Hey, Isaac.
Yes.
So you and Hagbar are really, really good with history, and so is Lalo. And I want to clear something up as to something that I'm very confused about when it comes to Germany before that time. So from what I understand about the history is, before all this is happening, they're in a very poor state. I think there was like a season, and it goes by some name, where they were like eating breadcrumbs and they were eating rats, and like that was kind of the name of that time in history for them. And that was kind of like why a socialist movement was so easily risen in that area, because poverty was everywhere. And I don't know if it was Italy. Yeah, go ahead.
How far before are you talking? Because Germany was the superpower of the world, all the way through to World War II. I mean, World War II is when they stopped becoming a superpower.
Right. So I'm going so far back, like maybe even the Romans, and I think that kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, that's the Second Reich, isn't it? That was the big thing.
Yeah, maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
I don't know too much about it. I just know that there was the Second Reich that fell, and that was like their best glorious time. Before World War I, they were in an incredible position. They were very strong, and it was really I mean, World War I is the most ridiculous. The Kaiser is the brother or the cousin of the king
Ferdinand.
of Russia. The king of the third. What is it?
Ferdinand.
No, Ferdinand too, but the Romanovs. He calls the Kaiser Willie, cousin Willie. That in their letters, but when they're declaring war, he's like, Willie, don't engage in war with us over here. And then they advance closer to these. Like all the kings in Europe were very closely related. It's so absurd. I mean, it's beyond absurd. But no, Germany was in a very strong position. And the only person that could have stopped the war from happening was Franz Ferdinand himself. He was very against the war, and the reason there was a war was a lot of benefactors, but it was common back then. They idolized war. I mean, they were very. There was multiple newspapers, articles, and stuff like that talking about how great it would be to have another war again, since their generation had not had any wars. So, I mean, it was something that they wanted, in a sense. The Austrians were, I don't know why, the Austrians were the worst I mean, they are the almost single-hand reason Germany lost. They were fucking terrible. The Austrians' first year just had nothing but losses and had one victory, and then they lost so many casualties that every offensive that they ever had was German-led after that. The Ottomans went in on Rus. I just found this out. I read a book. The Ottomans, not only did they go in tricking their country, Enver Pasha tricks his country into the war by making fake ships that have giving German ships flags from the Ottoman Empire and makes them wear Ottoman Empire clothes. When they attacked Russia, his inner circle, the other two pashas, told him to send a letter to the Russians asking them not to attack, that it was an accident. And so he writes this letter, but right before he sends it, he writes at the end and says, "But you guys started it, and you totally aggressed us, and that's why we're doing this war with you." Like, so he cancels out his apology completely, and Russia declares war on them. Like that they wanted war. Everybody back then wanted war for some reason. I don't know why.
I think what John was saying was about the Republic of Weimar. Wasn't that like
Maybe.
the fact that they had? Yeah, that's probably what you're saying, because they had this.
You're really good at clarifying what I say. You did that on the last one. Yeah, and I remember we were tweeting afterwards, and you were like, "No, you were talking about this," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not going to claim. I'm not a history major, so I'm not going to claim to know. I've heard about these things, but yeah, you're really good at pointing out what I actually meant.
Glad I
I'm glad
can
to have you
help.
here. Yeah,
I
Because
don't
the
know
Republic
much
of
about
Weimar.
Weimar.
Jesus, I have studied that for like, I haven't touched that subject in like 20 years or something.
yeah, it's a pretty dark spot in history. Like, it's not
No,
really talked about.
I remember I studied that during high school. I remember there was a time they did have prosperity for a while, but the policies weren't working, and there was a lot of poverty, and that's what the public started showing a lot of discontent, and in that whole confusion in well, like economical drawback that were happening at the time, that's when nationalism began to flower, and therefore that's when Hitler got to power during the whole upheaval.
Right.
But it was during that time, the Republic of Weimar, and the fact that their policies weren't working that well to the benefit of the people.
Yeah.
And they were feeling pretty defeated after the First World War in the Treaty of Versailles. That also played a role in
The Treaty of Versailles started World War II. I mean, it's very obvious.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but to
sanctions
put it
they
in
put
perspective,
on-
this was a time where people were literally eating rats. They were so poor. There weren't any jobs, and there was a lot of, from World War I, there was a lot of sanctions on Germany.
Okay.
Where
So
they-
Yeah,
you were
the
talking
sanctions,
after. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was Germany was fucked after Versailles.
That's and this is the period that I'm
Absolutely
talking
fine.
about.
and they weren't able to develop their
Infrastructure.
No, yeah, the
and
rest of the
set
world
trade,
held them down, and they were not able to develop anything. And
or sell anything and
Right.
to export anything. So their economy was pretty cracked at the time. And you have a quasi I don't know. I wouldn't say if they were far left or not. I don't really remember that
The
part.
National Socialist Party.
No. Before that, during the Republic of Weimar.
Oh, no, I have no fucking clue.
I don't remember. I don't remember if
Yeah,
they
I
were
have to admit-
quasi-communist or not. But they were in pretty dire times. When you cut everything a country can do to better their economy in relation to other countries, especially in Europe, if you lose the ability to trade with other companies, other countries, I mean, you're
Yeah.
pretty much fucked.
Yeah,
And
this
now,
is what's happening in Venezuela. Lalo said that the other day.
yeah, Germany, they have developed so much, and they're a pretty rich country now because they're basically doing mercantilism.
Let's keep in mind they're a rich country and they're taking in retarded amounts of refugees, and they're able to put them on like their state welfare, their state stamps. I mean, they're able to support a complete. I mean, they just have so much money. They could just fucking like light everything on fire. Like it's irrelevant to them. Like
You
they're,
know,
So
they're
after World War
economic
I,
superpowers.
in this time of poverty, because I'm asking this as a question, is what helped develop a lot of anti-Semitism because the Jews in that country were doing very well?
No, anti-Semitism.
No, there was a.
Oh,
Go on. You know more about that than me.
It was all the way in World War I. I mean, they would make false studies and tests or polls about the Jews on the front lines of Austria, fighting for Austria, the Jews on the front lines for the Germans, they would say, who's giving feedback? Someone's got their speakers too close. Okay. They would ask, like the Austrians had a primarily Jew general army, and the Germans had a lot of Jews on the front lines. And they would say that the Jews would run and hide in the middle of the war. They would defect. They would go enjoy the Soviet Union and stuff like that. I mean, the anti-Semitism was very, very constant. That's almost always something constant in history. It fermented with the blaming of the other, but not before Hitler was able to put Mein Kampf and instill intellectually smear the Jews to a point where it's very easy for people to talk about it out in the open and say, oh, well, these guys are the reasons for our problems, because if you read Mein Kampf, Hitler points out here the economics of the Jews and their bagel conspiracies are why we're having such a bad fucking economic sanction or whatever. So that's where it got really bad.
He capitalized on a pre-existing sentiment against the Jews.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is a good time for us to segue into one of the points that I want to talk about.
Segue away.
Yeah. So watching a podcast that Lala was in, and we kind of talked about it with Hagbard and Nisa. You were in that conversation. I want everyone to be able to chime in. I'm glad Isaac's here now, and he can chime in on this too. I want to talk about nationalism, and not nationalism, but basically like anti-nationalism. With Kyle, on his show, he has a lot of, and this is kind of the same rap with the Young Turks, where they talk a lot about the mistakes of America, and I have to preface this with me personally. I'm perfectly okay with being skeptical about American policy and what we do, and we should have discussions about those things. But it seems to be a lot of anti-American sentiment.
Sentiment.
Anti-American Semitism, yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
I will take it.
Sentiment.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say I will take it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
I'll let everyone else go first, and then I'll go, so I can sound smart.
Hagbard, why don't you start that off? Because that's what we were kind of talking about at the last of our conversation.
My issue is, again, I grew up criticizing my own country. I grew up in like a hippie household, so it was always anti-war, anti-this. I mean, my first ever thing I did that was against the law was right after we got into war with Iraq. I broke into my high school and spray painted a bunch of anti-war slogans all over the place because I did not think it was going to be a functional conflict. I didn't think that we were going to gain anything, and I also know that our military currently operates under entirely different standards from third world countries because I've been studying. My knowledge on war starts at World War II. That's where I started paying attention in history. Everything before that's kind of blurry to me. But everything after that, and especially American history, I've paid very close attention to. And anytime we get bogged down in a region like that, it's because we follow rules and they do not. They don't have this closed warfare system that we do where they're trying to minimize casualties or anything. They don't give a fuck about that. It's about expelling the invader at any cost, total war, whatever anything goes. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care about the Geneva Convention. They give no fucks about that shit. None. And we're not going to win a war like that unless we don't care either or we're in an existential position. So until we're in an existential position, I'm not big on war. When it comes to being a nationalist, I mean, I was in ROTC as well. So it's kind of a dichotomy. I mean, I was always for supporting my country as it is because I think it's a good country and I think it has a good foundation that we can build on. And that to criticize the country and not the policies of the country is non-functional.
Isaac, go ahead. Like you guys are Americans. You should have the first sentence, and then I'll just chime in.
So there's an obvious foreign policy thing that we should obviously criticize almost always or often or whatever you want to say. I mean, it has to be done. Yeah. There's the separate issue of they try to link everything we've ever done to the causes of other things, and some of them more relevancy than the others, and some of them there's absolutely no relevancy. But there's an association that they do where they'll say, oh well, you know, we bombed the hospital in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, if the Afghan terrorist over there had done it, it wouldn't be on the fucking news. They wouldn't report on it. They
No.
would not report on it. It would not be something you would read about. You could find it on press TV because people are being killed over there, and they're constantly talking about Iranian whatever bullshit over there. You'll find it in Middle East politics, but you won't find it in American politics. Now, if there was a Jew over there, or if there was an American that had shot up some Muslims over there, terrorizing over there, holy fucking Christ, I couldn't imagine. It gets to the point where there was that Bachabazi event where instead of focusing on how fucked up Afghan culture is, that both the good guys and the bad guys rape 13-year-old boys, they talked about our imperialistic mentality. What in the fuck does that have to do with people's
them having
to
a cultural predilection of fucking underage boys because they're not technically men yet, and that they're not allowed to sleep with women outside of marriage, because that's why that happens. They're not men. That has something to do with us. How in the fuck does that have anything to do with us?
Their solution for that is we just need to get out of there. We just need to get out.
Yeah, that'll stop them from fucking 13-year-old boys.
We gotta get out of there.
From being there. That's all it does. It stops you from seeing it.
No, so what's interesting about that is they claim this moral high ground. I'm writing about it now. They claim this moral high ground that is U.S. centrist. It is not internationalism. It's not communism. It's not liberalism in the sense where we look at the world as a completely unified place where we care about all the people in the lowest bracket of poverty experiencing horrific events every single day. It's a U.S. centrist. When my guy does it, oh, we're so bad, we're so bad, we're so bad, we're so bad. When you commit a genocide on your own people, like in Rwanda, I really don't want to intervene. Oh, the UN's backed up. Oh, they did 67 resolutions on Israel in the past 100 years, and they only have 68 other resolutions ever. I mean, that's a fair system. I don't see why they wouldn't intervene. They don't care about other people's lives. They do not care about civilian lives. They say they do, and when they say they do, they just mean they don't want to be in the vicinity of the civilian deaths if we're there. So if the civilians in India and Indonesia are being raped and murdered, gang raped even, it is like 8 out of 10 men have been in a gang rape over there where they've raped women.
Yeah, it's just called Saturday Night. I don't know what the problem here is.
Yeah, I know. It's Taliban fever.
It's their culture. It's fine.
And that's okay, because we won't have that much impact by talking about it. But in reality, they're just the most demonstrable people that you can. I mean, I'm demonizing them in a sense. They have these views that are viciously repulsive and repugnant, where they won't intervene on Rwanda, where they'll allow the fucking president of Qatar do a genocide against black Muslims in Darfur, where they'll allow for a Holocaust to occur until they hit us, and then we can get involved. Now it's okay. Yeah. Now it's morally a-okay for us to do something. But even then, the longer the conflict goes on, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, the longer it becomes less tolerable. So, like...
Right, so we were kind of talking about this as like it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
In that conversation, and it's the teetering point of how long do you wait, and then, and I mean, they're hard decisions to make, but to take at the end of that when we do something, to say that's imperialism, that's... No. And I'm not saying that America's perfect, and I'm not saying that we go into conflicts that we shouldn't go into. But what I'm saying is this sentiment. I can't get this goddamn fucking word right.
The Semitism?
No.
Sentiment.
Yes, the sentiment of America is trying to dominate the world, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's
well,
what
that's
they
the
say.
problem with, I'm just going to make a point real quick to try that out.
Take your time, please.
Because Kyle has this almost obsession with Chomsky.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the Chomsky rule, because if you go by that rule, you cannot balance your criticism. Because in the example of what was happening in Afghanistan and that cultural practice, if you go by that rule, you will criticize the American soldiers for not stepping in. Only you will not criticize the other side for doing what they do. But if you don't go by that rule, all bets are off, and you can criticize everything. And I think that's a better way to go ahead and have a discourse and have a critical analysis of everything. In regards to the whole imperialistic argument that he makes, I think that we should look in a case by case
basis, yeah.
Basis, yeah.
No, that's completely right.
I was like, I thought she was going to say a different word here. I was like, oh boy, I can't wait.
If I might say something, though, that's not...
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
The way things are thought of these days is a case-by-case basis. It is all about the collective, and you know, America equals rich white guy. So the narrative is, even if you know some atrocity occurs in another country, then you know, America is just has done things that are just as bad, and because we're the big bad superpower, you know, we're still.
We have no right.
We're still oppressing them, even though Al Qaeda, Hamas, whoever can go wipe out an entire village, and America kills some civilians when striking a target, and America is still so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're targeting civilians, and it's a horrible freaking atrocity. And America does do everything it can to prevent civilian casualties.
Right.
Well, what they will say though, yeah. What they will say though is that if America intervenes in a certain country, we're just being imperialistic and trying to colonize or spread democracy, whatever. We're trying to do something that it's gonna end up being really bad. However, if there is another part of the world where atrocities against human rights are being committed, they will say, "Hey, why doesn't America step in?" It's the whole damn if you do, damn if you don't.
And there's another point to it too, Nisa. It's he has a conspiracy, and I think it's a conspiracy, and this guy's like teetering on Alex Jones shit. He thinks that there's the military-industrial complex, and we go in starting these wars not only for oil, but to fuel our military-industrial complex. And
well, he does have a bit of a point there.
And I'm not saying he's completely wrong, and I'm not saying we don't have one. What I'm saying is that he thinks our fuel for every conflict we ever enter into is just to fuel our military-industrial complex.
So to give a really tangible example, I'm glad you brought up Chomsky earlier. Chomsky was asked just recently, a week ago maybe, in a seminar, where they asked him. It was the last question, and he asked him two questions, and he was, "What is the conditions that would be okay for humanitarian intervention, an example like Syria? And then, is there any responsibility on us when we know a dictator is going to commit a genocide? Is there any responsibility on us to attempt to stop it? Are we allowed to intervene humanitarianly?" And Chomsky does not answer the question. He completely deflects. And he just says, there's never been an intervention for humanitarian reasons.
Are you kidding me?
So therefore, there's nothing to talk about. That was the gist. That was like, he talks about a little bit more about how Syria is fucked now, and he's right.
So in other words, nobody's ever had the balls to step in and stop a genocide, and so why start now?
Well, no, but that's his point, is that we've never just gone in for humanitarian reasons. There's been a few that have, very, very few. But it's never the main case. There's always something else there. As if like we can't have a noble cause and a self-imposed incentive. You're not allowed to have an incentive. You have to be going in there with the expectation. It's like it's got to be fucking charity or something.
Right. But I think what's common sense and what is known as we're not doing it for colonialism. Like we're not going to these countries so that we can move Americans over there and make that the America version too.
They have no concept of that. But so Syria, Chomsky says that Now it's completely fucked. The rebels are majorly jihadists, which he's right. He's not
Yeah,
wrong.
he's right. Yeah.
The Assad is getting backed up by Russia, Iran, Cuba. Turkey is funding al-Nusra. ISIS is being funded by the Saudis. So where do you intervene? And that's a fantastic point. And now that we're at this point, we can't. We can't intervene in Syria. It's over.
I completely agree with that.
No, we have
I
failed the
back that.
Syrian people. There was a point in 2012, 2011, 2013 even, where we could have helped the Syrians in the most noble humanitarian intervention humanly possible. They have such little oil in Syria. There would be no financial incentive, and all we did was a big threat, which they were hoping, they were praying, Assad was praying we wouldn't act on it, and the rebels were praying we would come over there to save them. They're fucking getting barrel bombed while they're protesting. Millions and millions of people on the streets getting hit with bombs in the air for fucking trying to oppose a tyrannical dictator, and we threatened force, and then we let off, and then that's it.
That's because of us, man.
No, hold on. ISIS comes in, and then they say, look, the Americans don't care about you. Nobody cares about you. We'll help you. We're here to help you. We'll fight Assad. Nobody else is going to fight Assad. That's why it's fucked.
What about that report from 2012 that they wanted to dethrone Assad, but the Pentagon was going for a solution in which they would back up Salafists, and that's not fine. That's not okay.
That's just them. The reason we deal with Saudi Arabia, which is Salafist, I mean that's basically the Salafist is Arabia and ISIS is Salafist. The reason that we're tacitly okay with that is because they use our currency to purchase oil, which is
they have to use our currency to purchase oil.
I want to ask a question that
Isaac. The least of two evils here. The least of two evils, would it be Assad or the Wahhabism Salafism ideology?
It's Assad because what Russia's doing right now is they're trying to make it so that we have to pick between Assad and ISIS. And because of our propaganda on TV, we're going to have to pick against ISIS. But Assad is far worse than ISIS right now. Assad is a fucking demon that makes... it is a brother of Saddam Hussein. He is a horrible person. ISIS has only managed to kill about 17 to 24,000 in the past year. Assad's killed 30 to 50,000, 80,000 a year or something like that. Assad is worse, but we can't pick Assad. It's not public. Could you imagine if Obama picked ISIS as the thing that can take over Syria?
Well, the problem is you can't choose the lesser of two evils from the bottom. I mean, there's no selection over there, and there's such a small minority population left there that could even remotely be called moderate.
No, there's no more moderates, man. We have failed them.
So let me ask a question, and this will be for Hagbard and Robert, because I want to give them a chance to
I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
No, and I don't want you to, because you're adding very great things.
Yeah, and real quick, let me just say, Isaac, I've been waiting to get on a stream with you, man.
Both of you, both you and Nisa are adding very great things, but I just want to kind of let them start this, and then we'll move it into you guys. So if we were to, because that was a great point to bring up, was Russia and Syria. If we were to back ISIS, which would never fucking happen. I mean, the most theoretical thing.
Al-Qaeda before we'd back.
Yeah, this is the most theoretical thing in the world. But if we were to back ISIS, in your opinion, do you think we'd go to war with Russia?
Hagbard and Robert.
Again, in that theory, it would almost be inevitable, but we would have no allies to call on.
Yeah.
Nobody else would join us. We would. Our best solution right now, sadly, is to literally do nothing.
Yeah.
There's no intervening that we can do. We've put ourselves into that corner because the American people have painted us into that corner.
Right, but say the American media was all of this time since 2013 wasn't talking about ISIS at all, and they were really just talking about Assad the entire time and painting the picture of how horrible he is, and that influenced us to say, well, you know, ISIS, they're bad.
Well, yeah, we would do it. No, we would do it, but we would do it how we've always done it. We would just give them shit and back them that way and not put any troops on the ground and say, go ahead and fight your war. I mean, it's the same thing we did in Afghanistan when the Russians were moving there. Like, we built that trap for the Russians and then stepped in it our goddamn selves.
Right, and in that we were helping the Russians, but going doing the game that we play against the Russians, how do you think that would play out?
Well, what I'm saying is it's a continuation of the old satellite warfare we did anti-Soviet. It's the exact same kind of thing we used to do in that region anyway. It's what led to this issue in the first place. We'd arm the rebels. We always arm the rebels. That's kind of our thing.
The Iraq-Iran war.
Yeah, that was us. That was.
Now,
satellite war.
I'm less familiar with what's going on in Russia than I am with what's going on in the Middle East, but do you really think that we'd get into a war with Russia over this? I mean...
No, that's what I'm saying. We do the
war. Dick hair away from a war from Russia.
We are, but we would attempt to keep it as a satellite war. Both superpowers would try and keep it a satellite war, I think, personally.
By satellite, you mean like proxy war?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, this
also goes to another question too that has to do with the topic, is that a lot of what's going on with this conversation is people are going back and forth and talking about, did we create ISIS? Did we inadvertently do it? Did the CIA purposely do it?
We made the atmosphere to make them as strong as they are today.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's what we did.
Say that one more time.
We made the atmosphere to make them as strong as they are today.
They then chose not to intervene.
Yes, they would have existed. There's no doubt about that. If Saddam was in power, he probably would have murdered them all. If he wasn't in power, and Iraq somehow managed to have done it itself, it would have been a Syria-type esque war, I guess, or no, more like Nigeria or Kenya. It'd be a distinction or like that.
Right, but if we never would have destabilized Iraq, you know what I'm saying? That wouldn't have.
It's a funny term, destabilize. I mean, what does it mean when you? To give you a perspective, ISIS has killed, or the total amount of sectarian deaths in the past since the Iraq War has been 400,000, 450,000, whatever, a million if you want to be a retard fuck.
Yeah, I got into a conversation on Twitter today, and someone said 1 million, and I was like, "Show me where it says."
You want to be a retard?
It's extrapolation. Yeah, it's extrapolation. The Saddam Hussein in 1991 killed 400,000 Shias. Just Shias in 1 year. Just Shias, not Sunni and Shia and Kurdish. Just Shia, 400,000 plus 30,000 Kurds. Plus fucking whatever amount of people he's tortured. So I mean, when we say destabilized, the area was stabilized like a psychotic murderer had kept all his all his friends inside his house.
Right. And just know when I'm saying these things, I'm quoting the other side of the terminology that they use.
But yeah, if we had not done that, there would not be ISIS as strong as they are today.
But there would have been somebody else, and that somebody else.
Al Qaeda existed before then, and these groups have always existed. Since the Ottoman Empire has crumbled, these groups have existed.
Now, the makeup of ISIS are groups that I don't know if it's directly from Al Qaeda, but there are terrorist groups that joined ISIS, and I don't know if it was directly from Al Qaeda.
Boko Haram was their own split off. Al Shabaab just recently, half of them or a quarter of them pledged allegiance to ISIS.
Didn't Boko Haram just pledge allegiance?
Boko Haram did in January. Al Shabaab just did it this month, and Al Shabaab is the to give you an example. I mean, these guys are the ISIS of Africa. They are very strong. They are very strong. ISIS in Africa is in Libya, and that's their third capital, Sirte, which is Gaddafi's town. That's the third state or city that they have like the Sharia law incorporated and courts and all that stuff all set up, very infrastructured. But in Nigeria, Kenya, Somalia, that's all Al-Shabaab's territory. And they're an Al-Qaeda affiliate. This is Al-Qaeda's baby. I mean, Al-Qaeda made this group with them, and they have been very successful. Over the past 5 years, they had the Westgate terror attack, it's an incredible attack where they went in through a supermarket, asked the people, for the children, the women, and the Muslims to all get out, and they killed all the Christians that were inside of that place.
Yeah, I saw the video. That was seriously fucked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a perfect example of religious grievances, the perfect example that this is a religious conflict and not a geopolitical conflict.
Yeah.
Do you think...
Well, no, it's both, man. That's the scary part. If it were just a religious conflict, that'd be fine. They'd keep it at home.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I'm saying Somalia, Nigeria, Kenya, they're being fed. The governments over there are Christian and they're Islamic, and they want to live. I mean, I have videos of that. The number one reason why these people fight is not because we kill other Muslims. It is because we live under a law that was created by man, and man is a sinful creature.
I follow you. I watch your videos, bro.
Yeah, and so that's their homing point. Then they'll say we live in humiliation, which just means, oh, we don't get to have Sharia law, we don't get to live with dignity. So,
do you think that these groups are being able to expand themselves because they're so good strategically, or because nobody's really opposing them? Are they that much of a genius?
Al-Shabaab is very sophisticated. ISIS is incredibly sophisticated. Their rookie members are obviously idiots, but even then they train these idiots to be... I mean, just to give... these people have weapons that they recklessly use because they're willing to die. So you have to think about it when you're on the battlefield as a person fighting for some country of borders that you don't really care about, or fighting for just your home. You value your life a lot more, and finding a fierce army that's willing to jump over the hills, jump over the trenches, that wants to die in your fire to kill you, is a scary thought, and it will make you run away in the middle of battle. And that is where a lot of the Iraqi success is coming from.
It's a nothing to lose mentality. Nothing else to lose mentality.
It's psychological warfare is what it is.
And it's funny
Isaac,
that you talk about
I have a question for you, Isaac.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I've seen a video of yours that shows, spokespeople from these countries that come on American TV and prey on the narrative that these people exist because of America, geopolitical bullshit.
Yeah.
And then they go back to their Islamic countries, go on their TV, and cry death to America, that spout the most horrible stuff. It's obvious that they're jumping on the bandwagon of the anti-America.
Noam Chomsky set that up for Osama bin Laden, and it's an Islamist tool. It's a political tool. It's a political jihad, is what you would call it.
Well, I'd like to know your thoughts on why our media just devours it.
It's a fascinating point. I'm currently working on a book, and I've got a perfect segment of that where Osama bin Laden. I'm quoting a lot of his manifestos and a lot of his cassette tapes that he used to record, public seminars and stuff that he would do at his mosque or whatever, so like the
Hey, before you start, give me 1 second. When you say that, I want to give a shout out to Isaac. He has an awesome channel. Go check him out if you're watching this in the future or now. Go look at his channel. Look at the stuff that he's doing. He's putting out videos pretty often about what's going on in the Middle East, and he's got a lot of great things to say. So go check him out and see what he's doing. Go ahead.
They're awesome, and they don't pull punches.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the reason the West eats it up, it became a tool. It became a tool. I don't remember when, but Hitchens speaks about it a lot. But it became a tool of self-deprecating hatred. But they used it in Osama bin Laden's letter. I actually have it pulled up right here. Actually, The Guardian. So his letter, he's got talking about, well, we supported Israel. So this is a big thing. This is a thing that we supported Israel, and you attacked us in Palestine. Palestine has sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years. The British handed over Palestine with your support to the Jews who have occupied us for more than 50 years, overflowing with oppression. The creation, the Constitution, the continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leader of its criminals. And of course, there is no need to prove or to explain the degree of the American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime and must be erased. And it brings us to laughter and to tears that you've it's blatant anti-Semitism. And then he goes conspiracy theory where he says the buildup of Israel was set in a stance where the Muslims can't unite and fight them because you split our land into Syria, into Iraq, Iran, Turkey, and all these lands, and so we're in fighting between ourselves to fight.
Well, if that was the goal, then good for them.
Yeah. So he hated our occupation in Saudi Arabia, which was just us trying to stop Saddam from flying bombs, which Osama bin Laden was not against. He was not against the Iraq War. He was in '91. He was not against the fighting against Saddam Hussein. He was against infidels on the land of the two holy cities. That is, when they use those terms, that's because he doesn't respect the. Anyone that says that doesn't respect borders. They view the world as all theirs, all Allah's, and so they won't use. They don't respect nationalities. That's what that is. That whole thing comes from. So they view it as everything is theirs and everything is holy. And when you're in the holy area, you're defiling their religious grievance. You're giving them religious grievances. And so that is why Osama bin Laden was angry with us. One of the second biggest reason he was angry with us. And then the third one is the sanctions, the 10 years of sanctions, which everybody in hindsight admits that was a failure on our part. And the oil for food scandal was a big failure on our part. I mean, there was a lot of wrong that happened then. Nobody denies that. But it's only in Islamic resistance do you find people in shitty situations always resorting to violence. You won't. You never see Jesus Christos group. You never see the Saints army of Nicholas's warriors. You never see the
Not
fucking.
for several hundred years.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this interesting thing they'll do with Osama bin Laden's work. Well, they'll not quote his disgusting religious grievance. I mean. Question 2. As for the second question, what are we calling you to and what do we want from you? 1. The first thing we are calling you to is Islam, the religion of the unification of God, freedom from associating from partners with Him, rejection of this, complete love of Him, exalted of complete submission of His laws, and discarding of all opinions, theories, ideas, religions which contradict the religion He sent down from His Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam is the religion for all prophets and makes no distinction between them, peace be upon all of them. This is the first answer to his question. The first question, what are we calling you to? Islam. Well, how the fuck is that not a religious war, man? How is that not a religious war?
It's got nothing to do with Islam, Isaac. You're
But there's
overreacting.
geopolitical extenuating circumstances you're not taking into account, Isaac.
I know. This is from his 2002 letter to the fucking
Hey,
America.
so thank you for that, Isaac. Like that was awesome, and that,
Yeah, that was.
really
I had never heard
sums
that
up
before.
a lot of what's
And-
going on right now. But I want to ask a question to Isaac and to Robert and to Hagbard.
You answer first before I fucking ramble off.
Earlier, you were
Oh, I
talking
love
about
the
the you might want to jump on this one. Earlier, you were talking about the sophistication of some of these groups, and it kind of made me think. And I was thinking about it when you were talking about that quote. What would it look like in a world where you didn't have Shias and Sunnis and Kurds? It was all just Islam, and they were all under one sect. And we can go into the
You
history.
probably
if you guys
don't want to know.
But I
That's
mean,
an interesting
what would the
question.
war look like? What would the world look like? What would the war look like? What would the immigration look
If
like?
the whole world was Islamic and they had
No,
nuclear
if
bombs,
we didn't
all the
have this-
countries
All
would
the
be-
Islams, yeah, we're not
Oh,
fighting in
wow.
We've
It
had
would look
Islamic
good.
dictators
we would
wipe out.
have a Red Scare. We would have the equivalent
no,
of a Red
it'd
Scare.
be worse than that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it'd be way worse than
Yeah.
If they
But
had,
I'm
if they
just
had a
saying, it'd
nuke,
be
if they had a nuke, it'd just be nuclear war. It'd just be they'd be praising the moment they
that's
got
the thing.
control of Pakistan. That'd be the end. Game
It
over.
would
that's
be
the
two
thing, and I thought-
generations before every child was indoctrinated into.
Yeah,
radical
submit
extremism.
or taste my nuke. You know what? I'll fucking submit. I'll play pretend. I want to live.
So we are
So
one
you're
unification away from all of that. Go ahead, Nisha. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Did you
So,
hear the question?
Yes, I did. So you're basically saying that if there weren't these internal sectarian little wars between them, that it would be
If
far
Africa
worse.
and the Middle East was one country.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what these
but
people see,
let's
guys.
look at
That's
the
what these
po-
guys see.
Okay, but
They
let's look
know
at the
that.
let's look at the one side of it. Let's just choose one of the interpretations and go with it. What if the whole Islamic world were all Kurds?
Well, I'm not very
Kurds
familiar
is-
with all the
Kurds is not
different.
a sect. Kurds is
Well,
ethnic,
that's a lot different because aren't the Kurds a lot more peaceful?
The reason they're more peaceful is because of how much genocide has been imposed on them. I mean,
Yeah.
they understand the horror of civilian violence.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with their
They do have
interpretation.
their downsides too.
No, their horrid experiences on this planet for the past 100 years
Have taught them that it's not a nice world.
Yeah, have explained to them not to treat people the way they've been treating them.
I think money probably has a little bit to do with that too. I mean, they're fucking rich in a lot of places.
But they had to squabble for that. That wasn't.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't just
given
given
to
to
them. They worked their asses off. I respect. But the other thing about the Kurds that I always just like to sprinkle in there, because they are some of the highest rates of FGM, and they are some
On
of
the
the highest
countryside.
rates of yes, and they are some of the highest rates of honor killings.
Yeah, that's that was my brother's point of view on the Kurds as well, because I keep saying that the Kurds compared to the others are more moderate, and they do allow for some what?
I said that being said, I still would support the Kurds over most of these other.
When you get to their central, the capital, it's very much liberal in comparison. For Muslim world, it's as liberal as the Ottoman Empire was. That didn't have Sharia law.
I'm sure we could have that again if the Kurds took back over, and I'd be more comfortable with that. Sure.
Yeah.
But it's safe to say if we had just a complete Sunni majority in all of these regions, we'd be fucked.
Sunni majority isn't as bad as you would think it is. It's bad, but Salafi majority, that's what you need to be fucking afraid of.
Okay.
When you see somebody has a watch on their right hand, your heart should skip a beat.
Yeah.
When you see some guy doesn't have silver utensils or gold utensils, and he's using specifically plastic, and he's bringing it from home, that should fucking alert you.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. uses his watch on his right hand.
Well,
that's gold. I bet it's gold. It's not Islamic. That's gold is for the afterlife and for the kafir.
Well, I think no matter which sect you choose, we all know that right now the brunt of Muslim violence is happening to Muslims right now. If they were unified under any sect, their focus would not be on themselves. It'd be on the rest of the world.
The Muslims haven't been all Muslims since the Ubayyad Empire, since the Caliphate died with Ali, the guy that the Shias love. Ever since then, the two sects have not been unified, and they will say that they're Muslims, and it pisses the Sunnis off. It pisses the Sunni. Think about this: ISIS could have just gone full fucking crazy and tried to unite a whole army against Israel, and they probably could have got a few countries. Assad hates Israel. Turkey hates Israel. There's no way that there would be a war over there. They could have gone straight for the Jews and gotten lots of support. Iran would have fucking helped.
Egypt.
Egypt's Israel's ally, and so is Saudi because of this conflict. But only ally because Sisi took over in a military coup.
I was gonna say because they fought them not too long ago in the 6-Day War.
So they could have gone after the Jews, but instead they considered the Shia. The Shias were more irreligious to them. They were more disgusting because they worship the dead, because they self-mutilate, and they claim to be Muslims. They claim to have the pathway to the truth.
Well, and the Shias were the ones oppressing them when they were in power. The Sunnis were the minority, right? And the Shias were the majority.
Sunnis are 85% Shia or 15%.
Oh, okay. So I got it backwards.
Yeah.
One interesting point to add here and to touch with the whole Euro problem is that I have heard from an ex-Muslim that he sees in Europe that the majority of Muslims have I wouldn't say the majority, but a significant amount of Muslims have a Salafist worldview, even more than compared to the Muslim world itself. All the Muslim countries, most Muslim majority countries, that the people that come to Europe have that more of extreme view of Islam than the ones who are left behind.
There's a reason for that.
Yes, there is.
It's the second generation. It's always the first generation Muslims are really not the people are so worried about the refugees. The refugees are fucking great. You should hug a refugee. When you see his little kid,
I was gonna make that point
you should fucking
too.
run from the kid. Run from that little fucker. because the parents are running away from war, and the children will grow up in this nice, peaceful economic area where they'll consider not being allowed to have their hijab on during their license an oppression, like the oppression of a caliber of the slavery of white capitalism and fucking like it becomes infuriating.
You have a great example on that in Britain, because if you look at the history of immigration in Britain, the first and sometimes even the second generations weren't that they didn't have that ideology of Islam, but now you see the younger people get into it way more than their parents did.
Now I'd like to note most other immigrant groups work the exact fucking opposite.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting,
Yes.
isn't it?
In America, I've lived in the South and I've lived in the Southwest. I've dealt with quote-unquote illegal immigrants my entire life. It's never even bothered me. I used to do landscaping in Florida. Do you think I didn't work with some illegals that didn't even speak English? I worked with plenty.
I'm around them all the time.
And they don't.
Landscaping in New Mexico.
And they don't necessarily translate over into our culture. They don't necessarily learn our language.
No, their kid speaks English for them. They fucking go
and
around like
that kid. No, and now we've seen a trend where third, fourth, fifth generation Hispanic children don't even identify as Hispanic. They're checking white on their forms. It's really weird. But it's a cultural identity at this point. I'm not like my parents who exclusively speak Spanish and still practice the Santa Maria.
But
whereas,
just to get it before we move on to anything, the reason why Salafists and Salafids, whatever you want to call them, the reason why they exist is because of a single narration of a hadith, and it's Muhammad saying the closest the people that'll be in the highest room of paradise are going to be the people that are the closest to me, the Salafid. That is the quote. The Salafid will be closest to me. And yeah, I agree with her. I don't want to really go into that subject if we can avoid it. Awesome. So they say the Salafid is the closest, which just means second and third generation Muslims. And that is where this whole thing is. I mean, to get an understanding, people that consider them Salafid are incredibly religious enough to the point where identifying as Salafid is considered like bragging. Like, oh, I'm so humble and noble. That's what Salafid means. It's religiously humble, religiously noble, religiously orthodox. And so it's fascinating that like, for example, the reason Turkey's so secular is because they have a huge Qurani sectarian Muslims over there. And by secular, I just mean when Turkey was established, Ataturk was like, hey, fuck the hijab, we're going to make that illegal. They did everything that Tommy Robinson's would love to do, but, you know, Tommy Robinson's a super bigot, and Ataturk is like the king of Iran, and we love him. So it's funny.
So we're going to talk about, because we're here discussing.
Yeah, hey, Nisa, go ahead and bring that up.
Well, I mean, it is. I don't think it's going to be there's going to have any controversy between us about that. But I just wanted to talk about the view that we have, especially from the media, regarding violent or extreme music, video games, and people acting on those interests, those personal interests, in order to commit something terrible. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's been a lot of
this is what,
go ahead.
Because this kind of conversation, I think it's very much regressive, because we had that conversation in the 80s.
Yeah,
we had
and the
that
90s. And the 90s.
And the 90s. We had the
And the
conversation
early
in the
2000s.
90s extensively because of Columbine and Marilyn Manson. And now we're having that shit again.
Well, the Columbine kids, they brought up video games then too. They said it was because of fucking Doom.
Yeah, so I think the underlying
video games,
conversation with that would be Gamergate. I'm guessing.
No, no, I'm not. I'm not much in touch with
I think
Gamergate.
I
If you
might
guys
be
want
the
to
only
talk about it,
person
it's
here that
fine.
really
Neither
tags that.
Sarkeesian.
Oh no, fuck that. No, I'm into it. But
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Oh
If you
yeah.
guys want to talk about it, it's
that new
fine.
Metal Gear Solid game. Everybody's pitching about the female character from it.
Do you
It's
know,
funny.
dude? Did you
Okay.
see their massive bait on that one? What the company itself said?
Yeah.
That, yeah, you're
If
just
you play
mad
the
we
game,
made the
dude,
perfect
it's
woman.
it's
I
yeah.
love
If
it.
you
You're just
if
mad
you,
we made the perfect woman. Oh my god, dude.
if you
Okay,
play
well,
the
what do you
game,
g-
hard.
she's incredible. But anyways, yeah, I'm sorry.
Let me go a little back on the Gamergate thing. We can talk about that. But
Yeah.
in regards to what I've introduced, do you guys, like in your experience, do you see any correlations between watching violent movies, listening to violent music, or even playing violent games and the actions that people do in real life?
I think Hagbar can really talk on this, and that this was kind of a subject we were talking about a little bit in our last chat with. It sounds so sexist, but with males and being competitive and needing that competitiveness.
I mean, every serial killer ever, almost ever, has had a violent pornography stash or fetish, and it's almost always incredibly violent. Not softcore violent where it's like whipping, but like, choking you until you pass out and then getting off on that. So
Yeah.
I think there's a reality that people don't like admitting, but I think those people find those things because that's
Yes.
what they like. Not
they
that they didn't find the things and then became
Yes,
crazy.
yes, they're already predisposed to violence, and they are drawn to it.
Yeah, and I think you were talking
But
more
I don't
about
think-
like shootings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah,
were
in
talking about,
relations to that.
and
'Cause-
even if
Yeah,
you,
I
if
think
you go,
even really, really messed up people understand the difference between reality and a video game. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't heard of anybody going crazy thinking they were in the middle of Grand Theft Auto or
Yeah, I don't think it's something that comes after the fact. You start playing, you start listening, you start watching, and then you do the deed. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
it's
and-
something
and
that
it
they
boils
want
down
to
to the
do
theory,
all
like,
along.
Every heroin addict drink milk. At
drank
some
milk.
time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's banned milk.
Yes, yeah.
Milk is a gateway drug.
Right, and yeah, you could therefore say milk is a gateway drug. I mean, there's no correlation between video games and violence.
Yeah.
There is violence in video games, and of course, you could probably see aggression.
There's actually a correlation for less violence once
Yes.
video games
Yeah.
get
Yeah, because it's
less violent
cathartic.
crime.
It's cathartic.
It is cathartic, yeah. Like for example, I know a lot. Almost all of my friends are metalheads. So you know what happens? These people are one of the most pacifist and romantic people I have ever met.
I grew up with a mix of both, and well, what's interesting is that it's metal bred a culture, and then sometimes like EDM, I'd say the electronic dance scene, it was bred from a culture. It did not breed a culture. People like to party, and then there were guys that made music for those parties. It was bred from that culture. Now these things have some negative effects. I think EDM as a quote unquote culture is damaging. I don't think it's got any positive stances whatsoever. And I've been to festivals. I've hung out at them. There's nothing good that goes on there. There are people eating their brains out from the inside. That's all that is.
I want to go ahead and take a second and introduce Adam. We have Adam in now.
Hello.
Hey, are you there?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Where are you from?
I'm from Canada.
Cool.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, kind of.
Sorry.
So, are you a fan of Devin's or?
No, I think I remember getting into a sort of conversation with him. I think. Aren't you Christian? Aren't you?
No, I'm not religious.
Okay. I remember you having
Are you a God believer?
no, a soft support of I don't want to paint you with something that I don't know for certain, but
No.
it was like a soft support of like Christian rights and stuff like that. Something
Absolutely.
along those lines. It was very.
Absolutely not. No, I'm completely non-religious. I don't even believe that there You know, I don't believe in any.
Hey,
dogma.
there's lots of atoms.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, it was just the picture. The guy was like a radio host, so that was, I guess.
Oh, okay, no, not me.
Okay. Fuck you, Adam.
So Adam, like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, what's up, man?
I'm just a marketing guy, and I designed a website for Hangouts, and your link had come up on there, and I just popped in and wanted to check it out.
You look like a mob boss. Like, you look like someone who's probably got some illegal marketing going on, if you know what I mean.
I do a little bit of that.
He does marketing on the dark web. Let's be straight.
Yeah, the Silk Road.
A little black hat, you know.
No, well, welcome, man. We've been talking about the Middle East, and we're kind of segueing into now with video games and violence, and just kind of talking about. We touched a little bit on Gamergate, but that's been talked about for so long. And
I'm more of a tacit supporter of the concept that you shouldn't censor or intentionally change the concepts of something simply to fit your narratives.
Well, that's a big thing to talk about, which is censorship.
Yeah.
I'll just let that kind of run where it goes, because that's something that's becoming very prevalent in the internet.
That's something
I can add a question here.
Yeah,
anything but a call to violence, I think, should not be censored or should not be considered a bad thing to say. Anything shy of calls to violence.
But that's
I think
subjective.
it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Wouldn't you say that's subjective, though, Hadgard?
No.
What can you classify as hate speech or a call to violence?
You need to die! Everybody kill him now!
See, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like the difference between saying, I hope you get raped and I'm going to rape you.
Yeah, one's an appointment, the other one's like, that would suck, but I wouldn't be
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I
An
understand
appointment?
that unfortunately,
Tuesday, 3 o'clock.
we have slipped into mob territory there. I understand that. I understand that we've slipped into a territory where saying, hey, pretty nice windows you got there. It'd be a shame if something happened, wouldn't it? I understand we've slipped into that territory, but you cannot stop someone from saying that if the windows never get broken. You just can't. I mean, there's just nothing. There's that you have entered.
Hitchens spoke about that. I even have a video about it. Who would have that job? Say you did want that. You did want this PC culture. Who decides what's right and wrong? Who gets to say what's not okay and what's right? No man's allowed to be another man's master in that way.
Yeah,
PC
and
principle.
I have a video in one of mine that I did with a guy named Ali Shakir. I've done 2 of his videos because he's completely insane. But in one of them, he legitimately asks questions that I consider calls to violence. He does things like, why are the cops that shot Eric Gardner still alive? If you ask that question, I think that's a tacit call to violence.
It's a tacit call, but even then...
No. He says, why haven't we done something about that?
Oh, okay.
That's the finisher there.
Public demonstrations of hate against a specific group should be avoided.
Yeah, they should be avoided.
However,
But should they be censored? You know what I mean?
that's
kind
the
of
problem. Like,
I think they should be mocked.
Yeah, they should be mocked, totally. But we do have, like here in Europe, we do have a lot of demonstrations that these people to be discriminatory towards a certain minority or a certain group of people, and yet they do have them. And you know what? We just go in the media and make fun of them all the time, and interview them and let them make fun of themselves by the stupid shit they say.
Yeah, but even we wouldn't put up with in America. Like, I've seen videos of like the sad, pitiful little white supremacist rallies that have happened in some recent times. That are usually just middle or upper middle-aged white dudes out there with big beer bellies and stupid signs.
And even with the social justice warriors, like, I don't agree with anything they say, and I mean, we find it comical. We make fun of them every day, but I wouldn't want to censor them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to take that right away from them.
Unless they started saying things like,
kill white men or kill
any of that weird
pig.
shit that just should not be going around. You shouldn't say that kind of stuff. That's a line that is, but you shouldn't censor it per se. Because it should be almost held up as an example of, look, this is what we're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
This is the problem.
This is the reputation of your group.
I don't like the narrative. I just don't like...
Please,
Sorry.
Adam, what were you saying?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Adam.
Like you have the Black Panthers that have their marches, and nobody really gives them a problem, right? And they're like Black Power. You know, that's what they
Yeah,
create.
but what I'm against.
Viewpoints.
What?
And if you talk to a Black Panther, they have some creepy viewpoints, just like the KKK. There really are just an opposite reaction too.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
they have no problem with like the mass murder of anybody who's not black.
Mm-hmm.
To give them a better chance at life and future, and they got some fucked up shit, but nobody really makes a stink about them because they're black, you know. So we better not say nothing because we might offend them.
And also look at the Rastafarians. I mean, the religious group.
You know about the Rastafarians.
Yeah, like I mean, they're
the truth.
They're a black supremacist religion. Like they believe that
Jah
black
only
people
sees us.
are the supreme race of the world, and that's looked at such like a peaceful, loving thing when that's not how it started.
Cut that homie's braid. You want to see a peaceful Rastafarian walk up with a pair of scissors and cut that homie's braid. You better be ready to run.
Oh, jeez. Now, to go off Adam's point, did any of you guys, this was actually a couple months ago, I saw it on a Sargon video where the police were actively covering up like a child prostitution ring.
Yeah.
Britain.
Oh, I don't want to talk about
you know,
that.
for like white underage girls.
Yeah, that was awful.
That were all Islamists because they didn't want to be called racist.
Yeah, no, you want to see what's fun? Look at the Islamic releases about that. They said things like, you know, it's because of your culture, because your women have been taught to be whores. They flocked to these regions to be fucked by our men. Like, that's the releases they're doing in their press. It's brilliant.
Are you talking about the Lebanese pimps? They were Lebanese or whatever?
I think you're talking about there were the rape gangs, I think is what they were just
that's
provocatively termed. The Rotterdam rape gangs and all that.
They were
fucking
grooming
shit.
like white middle class girls to just be sex slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know
the police had evidence and they did nothing because they didn't want to be called racist because all the suspects were Middle Eastern.
No,
Yeah,
I was
did-
about to make a joke and say, were they Islamic?
Yeah,
great.
they were. No, they were Islamic. They were Middle Eastern Islamic.
No. I believe the British prefer to call them Asian.
Asian.
Yes.
Nisha, did you have a point on this?
Yeah, let's not forget though that we did have a problem in Europe with a ring of sex slaves. People they used to go to Latin American countries and tell women that they were going to give them jobs and pay their plane tickets to come to Europe, especially Portugal, Spain, France.
Oh yeah.
It was more France, and they would be held. Yeah, they were being held in beds and forced to have intercourse like 30 times a day with whomever. So, but I don't know.
Southeast Asia is rife with sex vacations that are predominantly done by middle class Europeans and Americans.
Mm-hmm.
That is true too. It's a difference. I think what the point was more of being willing to ignore the crime once it's been brought to the attention of the authorities, for the sake of not being called racist.
Yeah, so you're talking more about the media representation of this.
Yeah.
In a
It's
way
almost
to
like the Charlie Hebdo. You know what I mean?
I was just
Well,
about
the media came at them like of course you should protect our girls, but honestly, if they had found out, if the police had done something, they totally would have been slandered as racist. They totally would have been called bigots and racist by the same media.
Well, the first question would have been, why were you guys looking so hard, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So which is, any argument against protecting girls from sex gangs and shit like that is, if you bring up one but, then you're a fucking horrible person. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Isaac, were you going to say something about the Charlie Hebdo?
Oh yeah, I mean, I told you, it's something I'm writing on, and it's the most pronounced, most clear case of the term freedom of speech is dead. It means nothing, and the only thing that matters now is feelings of speech.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is over. The time for freedom of speech is over.
I love that.
My problem with
People are
that
starting
case,
to push back. I just think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But
We have to resist it, because if we don't, we'll live under it. We have to
absolutely.
resist it.
I just think it's going to get a little bit worse before enough people wake up to really
Yeah. Well, I mean, so
to really make a difference headway the other way.
The progressives, or the regressives, but I'll play ball. Progressives. They call themselves progressives because they have far left values, supposedly. The biggest far left value that anyone can think of is freedom of speech, the freedom of ideas to be countered with other ideas. They will trample under that. They will crumble over their main principle, their main belief, their main crucible of their political affiliation, just to save face, just to make everybody feel better.
Because not all.
Yes. So
My biggest problem.
Oh, go on. No, go on. It's fine.
My biggest problem with the whole Charlie Hebdo treatment after the fact was that we were talking about freedom of speech instead of talking about, look at these awful things, the awful thing these people made and why they made it, why they did it. Why were we talking about censoring the paper instead of condemning the act? That was just crazy for me.
They would condemn the act. They would be like, what he did, he was a racist, Islamophobic, blah, blah, blah. Anjum Chowdhury doesn't like Charlie Hebdo. Fucking, like, it's...
Well, there's another point to it, too. There were a lot of the little debates and panels that I saw on the news, a lot of channels, they were specifically talking about, will this bring up the sentiment that Islam is not compatible with Western society? Dude, this is not what you should be talking about.
The most disgusting thing about that is when you say Islam. What the fuck do you mean? Wait, you better pick a sect, you better pick a category, you better pick a fucking country. Don't you fucking just say Islam. Because Islam is just a religion with 30,000 different subsects, with subsects that have people that say the jihad of the sword is over. It's time for the jihad of the pen. The dichotomies, the diametrically opposed views, the completely polar opposites that these sects have within each other is so complex and varied that you cannot just say Islam anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of the defense was like that. But listen, I saw a point that was raised on Al Jazeera during that was that, oh look, it's not really, free speech is not absolute, because look at how a lot of European countries have limited free speech. For example, France.
I cannot say that to the infidel. I'm so oppressed. Please.
Yeah.
They would say
I would say supermarket, I could cut her head off with my foot and she doesn't let me. I throw her in jail. It's ridiculous.
Oh, have you seen some of these lists that colleges have, to prevent microaggressions?
Just wait a second, just real quick, because we just finished that point. Because you were saying that since France has the limited free speech by not allowing the Holocaust deniers to have their say.
Yes, yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
That should be changed. That's what that conversation should have done. When they brought that up, we should have been like, you know what? You guys are right. We should fix this, because that's not okay. That's not. Germany shouldn't have Holocaust denial fucking prison exchange. I mean, it's a beautiful sentiment that they're willing to do that they're so ashamed of something in their culture that they don't ever want a possibility to go down that road. But I don't think it's okay. I don't think they should do it that way. I think they should allow the crazies to be out there and let them get publicly shamed. Because if you don't, you feed the fucking the darkness within these people, and they meet in other ways, and we don't know where they are. We don't know the enemy that's underneath.
Oh, so you're saying it creates kind of a subversive counterculture.
That's what I have to keep track of 7 different ISIS accounts that have different names, different fucking handles. Every other day they're getting banned. And it's all it's done is it made them make a network of hashtags. It made them make a network of websites with alternate mirrors. It made the problem bigger. It made the problem more scattered, more difficult to solve if there was ever to be a solving. So when you try and exclude the bigots, you don't know what they're going to do. So if they actually are a threat, you're never going to know until it's too late. And when you allow it, you allow these crazies to be out in the open and be shamed and be debated.
Bigotry is wrong, but it should never be censored.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can understand that, but the thing about the Holocaust deniers, and I was supportive of that measure at the time, was because Holocaust was a fact. Okay,
Oh,
it was a
so
fact,
the Armenian
and
genocide
denying it.
doesn't stop Turkey.
What? I'm sorry.
So was the Armenian genocide, but that doesn't
That
stop
doesn't
Turkey.
stop Turkey. Yeah.
Or Cenk Uygur.
You guys are making good points, actually.
Hey, I want to ask you a question. Nisha,
Hold on. Rwanda genocide. Noam Chomsky denies that.
Yeah.
I would love to throw him in jail. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Nisha, I want you to finish that point. Don't forget what you were saying. But Adam, I want to give you a chance to just kind of hear what you're thinking about us. You being new to this group, I don't know if you're thinking like, these people are fucking crazy. I don't know what I just walked into, or I completely agree with everything I'm hearing.
You're having a great conversation, and it's like you're bringing up very important points, especially about the freedom of expression. When it comes to the Holocaust deniers or the Holocaust revisionists, whatever they call themselves, the thing I don't like that I see too often is that they're being denied a voice, and they're being silenced way too quickly. Therefore, nobody's presenting an argument to them and saying, well, okay, these are your facts that you've made up or come up with. Well, I'll counteract that with our truth or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not happening. With the Holocaust deniers, they're just saying, no, you got to stop talking. We silence you, we throw you in jail. That's not right, because that goes to show that maybe they're telling the truth. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the Holocaust deniers. I mean, that's just the outside extreme. I mean, it's getting to the point where, everybody's getting silenced if you don't agree.
Okay, but the point that was made...
Because the sympathizers say, oh, well, you're silencing these Holocaust revisionists. That means you know they're telling the truth, and you don't want the truth to be heard because you can't counteract that truth like you do with other people. So therefore, if you're putting them in prison, that goes to show us that they're saying something that you fear, and you fear what they're going to say might change people's minds and change people's beliefs.
Yeah, it makes the Jews are taking control of Germany and throwing all the anti-Holocaust deniers into fucking jail. Like, it feeds the conspiracy theory. It does no good. It does absolutely no good.
So Adam,
let them have their 15 minutes.
Adam, with you being an outsider, like in our group, this is the type of things that we talk about all the time. But is this something that you hear a lot, or is this kind of a new topic to you?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I mean, through the internet, a lot of people are willing to talk about a lot of things, but when it comes to face-to-face, people are very afraid to talk about certain things. They fear that you're going to lash out on them, or they fear that somebody around them is going to hear. You can't be in a public place, you can't be on a train or on a plane or in a public shopping mall and talk freely about things that might be controversial, because you might hurt somebody's feelings around you, and that's a bad thing.
Right.
Unless you're directly insulting someone and saying you are a piece of shit, and I believe that everybody that's your skin color is a piece of shit, whatever. That's a whole different matter. That's intolerable. But if you're discussing something political, and maybe it involves a group of people in particular, discussing it's one thing, and that should be totally free. People should stop being so scared, man. They're so afraid of what others are going to think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. That's the problem with the whole PC culture, because now we're self-censoring a lot. Well, just to conclude the point about France and freedom of speech, I always thought that it was like a valid limitation, because I'm changing my I have thought about it before, and I was iffy about it. That's why I wanted to discuss it. But because I thought that since that can be construed as a dangerous ideology, that it was okay to be censored. However, Isaac pointed out, and he pointed out really well about those accounts, those Islamist accounts that have been banned, but then they just try to get networking out of some other place. So yeah, I do agree that the crazies need to be out there so we can openly criticize them and battle. Have a battle of the minds and criticize their ideas. So, yeah, thanks for that exchange. It kind of cleared up my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Well, another thing is we all pretty much agree with each other, and sometimes we get accused of being an echo chamber. But I don't see it that way. I just see it if you got a counter argument, you just better bring your A game, because we got people like Devin and Isaac who they're on their fucking shit. They're on their game. And if you can, if you come with a better argument, you'll convince us. But there are
I'm open to a debate with anybody on the other side. And I mean, I'm rude on Twitter, but I'm really respectful in a debate. I'm not a complete asshole when I'm speaking with someone that I want to get. I have to hear your ridiculous point if I'm gonna refute it. I can't just fucking talk to myself. It's not
Yeah,
that
and
fun.
that's all they are is ridiculous points. Because as soon as you get into a little bit of nuance or a little bit under the skin of the topic, the people who know their shit are going to come out on top, and none of these people know their shit.
Adam,
And let me guess.
All just excuses.
did you see the conversation with Bill Maher, Sam Harris, and Ben Affleck?
No.
Okay, well, just to kind of give you a backstory, is we have a lot of these debates on Twitter and YouTube and just all over social media sites, and there's a lot of us that are having these debates, but it's kind of going to a backset of a much larger debate, and there's these guys like Sam Harris, Reza Aslan, Majid Nawaz, and it's a political ideology war. You know what I'm saying? That's coming from the liberal movement. But there's names back and forth for what they're calling each party. We really call them the regressives, and they're calling us the neocons or new atheists. And that's just kind of the backstory on what's going on is the censorship and reforming the Muslim world and Islamophobia and what we should call certain things, how we should talk about certain things, and the problems that are going on. So that's
social justice warrior culture.
Yeah,
that we're living in. Nobody's feelings can get hurt at any point. That is the number one sin.
Listen, my biggest problem with social justice warriors and PC culture is when it's transparent on comedy and movies. Like, no, don't touch those. Please don't touch those.
Well, I was going to say my biggest problem is when actual harm comes, like the topic we were talking about earlier with the police disregarding these Asian gangs, quote unquote Asian gangs, because they didn't want to seem racist. I mean, that boils me. Like, that just shows that the culture is so deeply embedded that like real actual harm is coming to people because of good intentions.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to just fucking sack up and say this is wrong. Good intentions be damned. Like, the good intentions should be protecting actual people.
What do you guys think of I don't know if you guys watched or saw any tweet about Ben Carson's remark about the PC culture on the debate.
No.
Ben Carson made a remark saying that PC culture is toxic and needs to be stopped.
I agree.
And then, but here's the point: the messenger matters in this bit, because when Ben Carson says that, coming from someone like him, you know that he means that whenever stupid fucking statement that he makes cannot be criticized, because it's because he said something that's not PC. No. I don't think that coming from him, it's the same thing as coming from one of us when we are against PC culture.
Well, I mean, it makes me think of your thought experiment earlier, where you said you had the one green guy on an island with a bunch of blue guys, and when you said the immigrants are coming over, who do you side with? And in my head, immediately, you said the blue guys were
siding with the immigrants, which would be
but you said the blue guys were siding with the immigrants, like the far left, and they were looking at the green guy, which is us, as the moderate left. But my head immediately went to the blue, us being the far right, because that's what we would be accused of for holding that position, because that is the same position that far right Republicans have and espouse, and it's something that Devin's touched on, that he's absolutely right on. If they say something right, we shouldn't be afraid to say that. Yes, that is
agree.
I disagree with them on almost everything else, but that right there, they're fucking dead ass right on.
It's important
just because
to
I agree with
differentiate.
that doesn't make me right wing.
That's all. It's important to differentiate. So you go. Trotsky agreed with Hitler, and he said the Russians are doing it wrong. The Russians are taking over. They're trying to fight, and I'm against Stalinism. Hitler was against Stalinism. Both of them were against two things. They're the same thing. Both were against the same thing, but for very different reasons. very completely different reasons. Hitler wanted Russia to become Germany, and Trotsky wanted Russia to go further to the left. They wanted them to be full communists. But that doesn't make Hitler wrong. It just makes Hitler's reasoning wrong. But he could still be.
That was my point.
And wrong.
Yeah, that was my point. I'm not saying that he's wrong in criticizing that. I'm just saying that his reasoning, when he gets to that by other pathways that we do not.
Yes.
I'd like to know what those pathways are, because
through Christ.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's either Christ or feminism.
I've been there,
I'm sure.
done that.
He's got Christ on like a speed dial.
I think there's a good thing to realize in what Robert was saying is, and what Isaac was kind of saying too. The messenger does matter, but when the messenger is right, the messenger is right. But it's also the time that we're in. We're in 2015, so like if you want to look at the regressive left, if and I'm going to put the social justice warriors in that group, because they belong in that group. You know, they're talking about feminism. So if it's 1960s and, you know, women really are having problems in America, that there might be points that they're going to say that I would completely agree with. Or if we're living in the time of Jim Crow, you know, and Black Lives Matter is talking about the Ku Klux Klan going out and hanging people, then there's going to be a lot of valid points that I'm going to jump on with them. But living in 2015, it's not just the person who says it, it's the time that we're living in that matters a lot too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree with you in that. It's because it has become such. It has spilled some toxicity to other places.
Semitism. It's going to be our cushion.
You know, there's something about the messenger matters argument that's bothering me. I can't put my finger.
It leaves a very bad.
That's Dean Abdullah's fucking point against Sam Harrison, Majid.
I know. That's why I don't like to use that argument. But you do have to realize that I'm not going to accept the reasoning of someone who's conservative, far-right Christian dude. When
you don't have to accept the reasoning, you just need to accept his premise.
Yeah,
right.
That argument could just as easily be used against somebody like Devin to be like, he's a racist. He may have a good point, but his reasoning that he uses to get to that point discredits his premise.
Yes,
I don't think that should be the case.
Yeah, there was a lot of it. It reminded me when Sam Harris was on the Joe Rogan show, and he was going to debate that stupid bitch from that RT network.
I couldn't get through that.
Yeah, well, she said that, I don't know why Sam Harris is talking about any of this. He's a neuroscientist. What is he doing talking about journalism and political stuff? And she was basically saying that the messenger matters, and I'm going to destroy him before we even debate. She never debated him.
Listen, who was this woman? Was that the blonde
Abby
woman?
Martin.
Abby Martin. And Devin made a video about it.
Is she from RT America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it. Like, I watch a lot of RT International.
This was a
and it's not as bad as the American one.
Yeah, this was a long time ago. Devin did make a video about it, but I think it's like Abby Martin is a dumpster trash, something like that. I mean,
dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire, that's what it was. Yeah.
He called her a dumpster fire, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's because she was using that argument of the messenger matters. You know what I mean?
Well, I said that in a very specific point. You know, I wouldn't transfer that to a lot of the regressive left is saying about people who criticize religion. I would never transfer that, because I can be a person that hasn't studied a certain particular issue in university and still educate myself and be well versed on it.
But Robert,
that for me has nothing to do with it.
Robert, there is a point where the messenger does matter, to me at least, and we can debate this, we can talk about it, I'd love to. If I hear Cenk Uygur talking about something, the messenger matters, because he has tarnished his reputation so much that whenever I hear him speak, I might listen to what he says, and I might either concede or debate his point, but I'm already coming from a place of I've heard you lie, I've heard you misconstrued, I've heard this, this, and this, and I'm fed. I've been so fed up with it that the messenger now matters. Dude, what do you think about that?
Well, I think we should be careful if. Sorry, let me gather my thoughts for a second.
Yeah, because I feel like if you say that, you're almost saying that someone's reputation doesn't really matter, and someone with a voice's reputation doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you guys are coming from a similar angle, I think, in that, I mean, you're not going to ignore your basic prejudgments or basic judgments of a person. Like, if you know somebody's character, that if what they're saying about that subject is likely tainted, you know that, but that doesn't mean you necessarily dismiss absolutely everything that person ever says.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think that the recognition of the fact that they're right should be like, hey, look, this guy's a fucking moron, but even he can get this right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even if you don't like it, that guy is now on your team.
And you're seeing that from a starting point where, like,
who's on your team, you're agreeing on, you have to take the bad with the good. And so I think we should refrain from judging our own messengers that are telling the things that we want people to hear, that we want to, like, these are the ideas that we want people to get across. And I understand they're coming from the right, but that just means we got to talk louder and let them know it's coming from the same people as well.
And I completely agree with you, and you're coming from a starting point where you're like, I haven't really followed Ben Carson for years or months.
Oh,
or
no,
whatever.
I know he's a fucking lunatic. No,
I'm
familiar with Ben Carson.
Yeah, and he's gonna say, he's saying stuff that is sometimes correct, but what I'm saying is the difference is if someone's coming from a starting point, then it's like you don't want to do that. You don't want to already judge them because they might have something right to say. But if you followed someone for a long time and you've heard nothing but bullshit, I wouldn't fault you for saying the next thing you hear is probably bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, I watch a lot of Fox News as well.
Terrorists.
I watch everything. I literally watch everything.
I didn't realize you were
ISIS
16.
videos?
What?
Do you watch ISIS videos?
No.
Oh, is it?
Oh, so you don't watch everything. Liar.
I watched some.
Not all videos.
Not as much as you
Oh.
But vast numbers of videos, not the majority.
Texas
Vast
Messenger
numbers.
credibility is just shot, Nisa. It's just,
Yeah, that's it.
Why?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we hear you, man.
We can.
Okay.
Hi.
What
It's a
up?
bunch of loudmouths.
Well,
I was just gonna say that, like, for example, I saw this little bit on one of the news programs about that list that I think Robert was talking about, that list of terms that you cannot use in colleges
Oh my god.
in order to not offend anyone.
Yeah.
Robert was making that point. And they did hit the ball with that one, because that was like, you cannot say fat. You have to say
Skinny, challenged.
differently weighted,
Fuck it.
No.
and a lot of those things. Like, that was like pathetic. It was a pretty easy point to make, and maybe it was only Fox News that made it. They got that one right, because the whole rest, you have to admit, like, Fox News is a bunch of propaganda bullshit, and that's why it's fun to watch them. You get a good laugh.
Yeah. I listen to the Republican radio every day. AM radio. 660.
Oh god.
That's funny.
It's
You know,
bad.
I listen to Catholic radio. For the
It's
same
so
reason.
bad.
Like, I
It's
did
so
that
bad.
once. I did that once with a friend of mine. We stayed up the whole night listening to Jehovah's Witness.
It's
It was so
amazing.
fun. It's amazing. You know why? Because you can take what they say and build this whole thought experiments with people. It's just very entertaining.
Yeah. They're
Yeah, it
fucking.
is.
They're crazy. They're crazy.
give an example of one of those
Really
thought
crazy.
experiments. Give an
What?
example of that.
You wanna go ahead?
Like, Rush Limbaugh was like discounting rape in all accounts because of that one fake rape that happened at that university. Like,
Well, there's this one about, like, how women had to, when they don't want to have sex with their husbands, that they should just shut up and do it because it's their wife's duty.
I know, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's their wife's duty. I don't see the problem here. I mean, I agree concurrently.
And he should, the guy should, even if she doesn't want to have sex, he should focus on her body and just get over with. Yeah, because that's fun.
Just be quick about it. I mean, don't ruin her day. I mean, come on. If you're gonna have sex with her against her will, at least be
quick about it. Yeah, they make these helpful points, and how, and if you put like, if you have, there's just one thing that if you have like a CV or a job application that you wanna turn in the next day, you should put that over the radio, so it can be blessed by their prayers, because the radio has
the women talk on Fox, the ones that are like they slut shame on a level that's like difficult. Like during spring break, they'll send like the women reporters out there, and they're like, look at all these kids fucking, like literally, like
it's awesome. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Look at all these kids being kids.
Yeah.
What about that show, The Five? That is the most.
You know what? I love Greg Gutfeld. Like, I don't agree with him all the time, but I like him a lot. He's the only like outspoken atheist that they have besides S.E. Cupp.
He doesn't admit he's an atheist.
No, he won't. But he's done a couple of really good segments. And every time I catch him, he's always the moderate. Like that's probably why I can tolerate him and like him, because when you're the moderate on Fox News, that's like being a communist. I mean, fucking, it's absurd. But I mean, it's really interesting. Like when he was talking about the shooting, the Young Turks did a thing on it where he was talking about the Charleston shooting and how people were saying it was religious, and he was like, no, it was the rape that one guy did to his sister. How like Christians were pardoning that guy from having touched both his sisters at like 14 years old. And he was like, if an atheist had done this, you think you guys would be as nice as you are right now to this guy? Or if a Muslim had done this, you guys think you'd be as nice to this guy as you are right now? He's like, no. These people are.
Do you have a video on that? I didn't watch it.
It's really good. Fine. Yeah, I mean, sometimes he's nail on. Most of the time they're all off, but sometimes you'll find those gems. Yeah, Megyn Kelly does that too. Megyn Kelly will put up some good points.
The other day I was watching The Five, and what his point he was making, I don't even remember. I just remember I sent an email to my brother saying, okay, this is bizarre. I just agreed with Greg Gutfeld. Kill me now.
Yeah, I know. I always get angry. Sometimes I'll agree with Glenn Greenwald, and I'm like, oh, this is so bad.
Yeah, it's bad when it's come that far off the rails, isn't it?
It's like I smelt my own fart, but it was somebody else's fart. Like I was like, oh fuck, no, why?
And Greg Gutfeld, when he's making a point that we don't agree with, he's so angry about it, then he just makes you like be more angry towards him, because he just gets on my nerves.
It's lionizing.
I remember he was trying to make this point about Bill Nye, saying that because Bill Nye sometimes politically he's very simple, because he's a scientist. He's not, he's not like well educated in those.
He's educated in technology. Like Bill Maher, they had a section where they were being tech haters, and he was like, "No, you guys are
that was
all
stupid.
Wrong." Yeah, it was so ridiculous, man. That was so. He was the only smart guy on that panel that night. I was.
Encyclopedia Britannica, seriously.
Yeah, that bitch that doesn't have a cell phone. Fuck her.
While we're talking about news networks, and you can't really even call it news, but it's trying to turn into it. I want to bring up MTV.
What?
No.
1999 is a decade behind.
Awful. Oh, they're so awful. The little MTV blurbs they've been doing that are just some of the most racially fueled things I've ever seen.
Halloween is one of them. They did an Islamophobia one.
Things that white people take for granted.
Things that white people take for granted.
Questions for white people.
33 questions for white people. Let's talk about that, because that is very anti-us, and I don't really know where I was going with it, but that girl, there's like that one girl, and she's on all of them.
Francesca Ramsey.
That dumb bitch.
Okay, I will make a point to get it off my chest, because that's I recently.
Don't put your chest on us. Not right now.
At least be on video if you're gonna do that.
My God, so sexist.
I know, we're
Guys are
all
being
a
all
bunch of shitlords.
guys being all sexist about it.
I'm sorry.
The last the last video I saw was that one, the things that white people take for granted. Okay, and then they made a point that look at Lord of the Rings. I'm just getting fucking angry just by talking about this. Look at Lord of the Rings. Would it hurt to have an Asian hobbit or a Mexican hobbit? And I'm like, what the fuck?
No,
are
my
you
counterpoint
talking
is
about?
if you had had an Asian or a Mexican hobbit, they would have said it was racist because both of those things are stereotypically short people. They would have gone off. That would have been it.
No. Let's talk about how hobbits
I'm
are
ending
a
the
race.
podcast. I'm ending it right there. I'm done.
What?
I broke him.
No, I'm just kidding, but that was hilarious.
But they are. I mean, really, seriously. I mean, they are stereotypically. If you look at like really like racially insensitive depictions of Mexicans, they're short and stubby, and Asians are traditionally smaller individuals. I
Dude,
mean,
you're like a young Hitler. You're like the Jews. If you look at them, they have naturally longer noses.
I
and
said
they
in
smell.
stereotypical depictions, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
No,
come
but
on, like,
I think the counterpoint to make is it's
Not
racist.
all.
It's racist.
Hey, look, I've
just
seen
to have
Yao.
that-
He's a tall Asian.
It's
I'm gonna
racist
steal-
to bring them into it just to have that token minority there. You know what I mean? And if it doesn't match the story, don't do it. Like
I find
there's that-
tokens more racist than the actual being racist. I'd
Right.
rather see an all-white film than an all-white film with Chris Rock in it.
token, yeah, the token black guy and
Fucking-
token white guy.
yeah,
you see it on the
it's
news when they talk about a
disrespectful.
black story on
Do
the
you see
news.
Tyler
there's gotta
Perry
be-
movie? Do you see Tyler Perry movies with fucking one white guy in there being like a super contributing character?
Yeah.
No, you see his fucking entire black family, and that's fine. You can have black movies, white movies.
No.
It's a
no.
culture. Racism
No,
is
Yeah.
a culture.
Isaac. I've seen almost every Tyler Perry movie, and there's always that one white guy, and they make fun of him. And
Yeah,
he's
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
He's like this huge stereotypical nerdy weird white guy.
Set up the witness protection program one. I saw that. Yeah.
Right,
I can proudly
and it's
say
like-
I have never seen a Tyler Perry movie.
Oh, you're
before.
missing out, dude. They're fucking hilarious.
They're wildly
fucking
popular
They
in
are,
prisons
but
around the
but
world.
if you're gonna call it racism on Lord of the Rings, you got to call that racism.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, same thing with like Think Like a Man, and I've only seen these movies because I'm married, so don't think like what the fuck is this guy doing watching these movies? But
No, that's
but
Hey, look.
they always have that token white guy, and the white guy is like super nerdy, super stereotypical, middle-aged American white guy.
Okay, what about the fact that in Lord of the Rings they had different races? This was a
They actually
fantasy
had
world.
races, like
They
actual
have races of people. They don't have to within race.
I think you mean species. They had different
Yeah, well-
species.
Yeah, they had different
Species. Yeah, the species. That's
They're
right.
referred to as races. I mean, even in D&D, they're referred to as races. I'm just.
Well, you know
clarifying
what's
that.
funny about that is the species of people. They would say, oh, the only black people are the angry orcs that are running around and just being
Yeah.
violent. So
Yeah, they would.
Do you
They would
do
look
you think
into
these
it.
people really sit down and think about? I mean, unless it's a
Of
racist
course
person,
they do.
maybe.
Of course.
It's like you're the one that's comparing them to black people. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, that had never crossed my
No,
mind.
that's
Yeah.
being an
I know.
awful human
Actually, that
being.
never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's always going on with them. They look into any big film that doesn't have like some superior like why do you think the new Star like that I don't
That's what I
mind.
want to
Let's
bring
talk
up.
about
I
Star
don't
Wars.
mind it. I
Yeah.
don't mind that it has a black main character because I think it'll
Of course
fit.
not.
But they
Right.
didn't do it because it was gonna fit. They did it because they wanted to be diverse. They didn't.
Right,
They didn't.
right.
They do,
Look,
do it for
I
the
think
story.
we can have both. I think we can be diverse and still have talent and
yeah, make
merit
it fit
for
the story.
I got into a long
That is
fight on
fine.
Twitter about this, and I've had to look further into it. To see, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, so the PC black guy, right? But what a lot of the fight is the people that were saying that it was the racism of making something diverse was because stormtroopers are clones of.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, they're
Right,
not.
and let's talk about it. Because I'll accept when I'm wrong. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
they're not. You know what? The first generation of clone troopers were clones.
Yeah, that's
Right.
episode.
Yeah, I think after that, the Empire starts they'll let any
Yeah.
riff.
So are you
Yeah,
saying
they
it was
stopped
after
that.
Order 66?
Have you seen their firing? Of course they'll let blind people in. I don't care.
They have the accuracy.
Right? All the
of
clones
flying.
were like,
All of them are terrorists. It's
shot
just
true.
brown people under there.
All of them are terrorists.
The rebels are.
Some of them got
Some of them
taller, they
fighting
can
people
jump.
at the beginning.
All the stormtroopers used to be able to swim, but now for some reason,
Okay. So, but with episodes 4, 5, and 6, there was no distinction. They are just stormtroopers. They're people that they have an academy. It's just like the military. Hanwood was stormtrooper.
Yep.
Okay.
He was not a clone.
My theory was when I first saw it was I thought they were keeping it the way it was. Boba Fett was the because he's Jango Fett. I'm sorry, Jango Fett was the Mandalorian that they used to clone their army. I thought that the guy stole the uniform and he was trying to maybe like get away from a
That's what everyone else thought.
Yeah. I just thought that maybe he stole the outfit. But
no, but they're not clones.
A black stormtrooper. I'm not against it.
He's a fantastic actor. I've seen him in one of my old favorite shows with God, what's it called? It's Neil Caffrey. What the fuck is it called?
Do you know what show I think actually is the worst when it comes to this? When it comes to forced diversity, has anyone else here watched The Walking Dead?
Oh God,
it's white collar.
No, I don't think it's no. Why is that though?
I don't know.
Michonne
is the blackest black person I've ever seen in my life.
No, you know what's the worst? What is the worst forced diversity?
It's a female Wesley Snipes.
The Disney Channel.
She is.
If you ever watch the Disney Channel and any of those like little pre-tween shows that they do, and the only reason I see is because I have a son.
Because you jerk off. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
Disney porn, whatever, man.
Right. I gotta have something, but no, they use like there's this one show where there's a Muslim kid, there's an Asian kid, there's a Hispanic, like literally almost every race that you could be on planet Earth is in that
one
show.
of every color of the rainbow, as it were.
And you could almost say that's great. It's diverse. It's showing kids how the world really is. But they're so stereotypical.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
So at the end, like the initial thought about it is good, but then the end they just basically do stereotypical stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Right. You ended up being racist. You know what I mean? Because you forced it way too hard.
And it has to be simplistic because it's for kids.
Yeah, which is where it's really dangerous and leaning towards propagandistic territory. When you're doing it on that level, you're like, this is it. One for one for one for one for one for one for one. This is how it is.
Yeah.
I want to see that Disney episode where that Muslim kid's cousin comes in from Saudi Arabia. And
I want to see like
and he joins this like, why is this woman talking to me?
Where is your hijab? You're not to speak to me. What are you doing?
Oh my God, your accent.
It's because I'm Jewish. It's very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours is accurate. Mine just sounds racist.
Do you get actually? Well, you obviously don't know what I'm gonna say because it's very obscure. Does the I don't know if you're aware that in Brazil there's this big industry of soap operas.
I thought you were going to say porn. I was like, yes, I'm very aware of the Brazilian porn.
Also, but they do have a big industry of soap operas. And one of the soap operas, I think it aired in 2000 or 2001, because they air here in Portugal as well, was about a Muslim family.
Mm-hmm.
And they did tackle the thing about equality and everything, but basically they were conservative, but they were always well integrated people within the Brazilian society, and they actually do integrate well there. But these are Persians.
Persians are completely different. They don't have to follow. They don't have to follow 3 different reigns of Sunnah. The Sunnah or the Hadiths that were brought out. I mean, they're so different. They don't pray the same. They don't pray the same amount. They don't pray in the same way. Nothing these groups do. It is a separate. It's not Muslim. It isn't.
Yeah, technically,
really
it's a whole separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if Americans claim that they were doing this for diversity, Brazilians did it first.
Yeah.
To some point. Okay,
we're just culturally appropriating it.
Yeah, from Brazilians.
You know what? At that time, I was in college, and I used to wear a scarf in my head because I fucking loved how they look. I didn't wear like a hijab. I mean, I didn't. I wore a scarf with my hair loose and with like a little bit of jewelry and everything, and I still love that look, but has nothing to do with what they wear today.
No, you're oppressed.
I was, yeah. I am,
Stockholm
though.
syndrome.
Mhm. I wear sheets on my head when I'm afraid of getting raped. That's what I do. That's what I do. It's my defense
That's
mechanism.
my defense.
My
My
anti-rape
shell.
weapon.
What about those
No,
pictures
you're not going to rape me. I'm stop burrito.
too
I'm
many
burrito
layers.
in here.
Well, speaking of that, like one of my favorites was another quote that was from about the rape gangs we were talking about earlier. Is one guy said something along the lines of, "If you leave meat outside uncovered, what do you expect to happen?"
Then I'll fuck it. That's what I do to meat. I fuck my steak. I fucked my steak
Stick my
5
dick.
minutes ago.
I just thought that was an amazing quote. I'm like, wow, so you just consider your women meat too? You just wrap your meat? Okay.
No,
What about this view?
They won't rape a Muslim woman of the same sex. You might think they would, but they will not do that.
Yeah,
That
there's
is-
a level of respect there that they do not show.
No,
to
it's a level of
far.
fear. It is a level of fear. It's not respect.
Hey, everybody.
How reassuring.
We're gonna jump right back onto that, but everyone do me a favor real quick. Go ahead and everybody mute your microphone.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you all something really quick, and then we're gonna jump right back onto that just to kind of show that point.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. Be
Uh-huh.
careful with the.
Yeah, I know.
Flag.
It's gonna be really quick, and I don't think it's gonna be anything that's gonna
We
get me
tested
in
it
any
earlier.
trouble.
we're all-
Yeah. We had to test that earlier. I put up a music video that was about atheism. Dang, I hate when that happens. Let's see. There we go. I don't know if y'all can see this.
Trippy.
Yeah, can you see this? Where I'm at?
You made me mute my microphone and then you ask me a question. You're so funny.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, yeah, everybody go ahead and mute. So you can see right here where this is this Disney show where you have a Muslim, you have a Hispanic, you got a black little girl, and 2 white kids, and then I don't even know what the fuck this guy is. But I mean, just giving an example, and this is one of the shows. We can go ahead and jump back into where
He's
we
the
were.
pedophile.
Yeah, he's a token pedophile. But I mean, I just wanted to show that point of it's so forced, and if you ever watch the show, you'll probably want to just slit your wrist immediately.
Yeah, I could barely handle the title of the show. What was?
I don't even know what the title of the show is. Like when my son is watching it, I fear for his life and what it's going to be. It makes me really think about the future of the world. But yeah, keep going. Go ahead and go where we were. I just wanted to show you guys that Exhibit A.
Oh,
Where were we?
there's a culture of fear with the Muslims raping their own women, and it's a fear of one being caught. Two, it's what's it called? It'll send them to the hellfire, and the people that are openly raping are specifically doing it not to be sent to the hellfire.
Yeah, but only the women that follow the rules.
Respect was not the right word to use there.
Yeah. Fucker.
Yeah, I suck. At least I'm not a Jew.
Whoa! What are you doing?
I'm kidding.
Let's curb
I'm
it.
oppressed. I need to kill people now.
Yeah, that's how it works. When you're oppressed, you're allowed to kill people.
That is a please.
Yeah.
Like it's not okay, but you
Yeah,
oppressed
I
me.
took the
Dude, you-
privilege test. There was some privilege test going around,
Oh,
and I
God, I
rated
hated that.
shitlord. I was total
Sometimes-
shitlord.
Sometimes Isaac sounds like Borat.
That's all it is. I'm just
No,
a very-
yeah,
it's a
exactly like
it's a
Borat.
loud,
No, my,
angry Borat. That's my
When it comes to
terrorist
that,
voice.
when it comes to that little privilege test, my little brother tried to scam it. He went full out and like he said he was like a Nigerian black guy lived in Nigeria. He went full out and then but he said no, he literally said that. He said he was a prince that had multi-million-dollar income, yada yada. He was still like 200% oppressed.
Wow.
Wow. It's like that one. There's like one question that varies all of it. Is are you white or are you not white?
Yeah.
It
That's
appears that
basically-
way.
Yeah.
It's essentially the old paper bag test, if you're familiar with that. And if you fail the paper bag test at this point, then you are oppressed. And if
No,
you,
go ahead and talk about that. Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
the paper bag test, that's an old racist thing that they used to literally say if you were lighter
never
than
heard
a
of that.
paper bag, a brown paper
Explain
bag. If
that.
you're lighter than or equal to a brown paper bag, it was an old like Southern joke test. They make a
Oh.
joke about it on Family Guy where they hold up a scale of different skin colors. And they say,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
no. The reason I wanted you to talk about it is because that's a good point as to what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they do the same. No, they do the same. And Afrocentrists do the same thing. Where like, it's kind of this bizarre conundrum where an Afrocentrist will say if you have quote unquote one drop of African blood, then you're black.
I'm black then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Then I'm so black.
I'm still
My
way
family's
not black.
from Algeria.
Yeah, I have family in Angola and Cabo Verde.
But they've
Cape
just
Verde.
taken they're literally using old colonial race-based tools to now switch the tables on quote-unquote racism, but they're using the same tools provided. I mean, they're saying, like, if you are even rural, or like the Afrocentrists say Native Americans were actually Africans that traveled to America. I mean, you get a lot of the bizarre stuff, but the brown bag test kills me when you see it being applied now by modern social justice warriors. Where they're just like, yeah, but you're dark enough not to pass as white, so, you know, you're obviously oppressed in some way.
Yeah, it was pointed out in a video, but I don't know if anybody noticed or heard it being pointed out when they were doing the Halloween on MTV, when they were talking about how Halloween is racist. All of the kids that were wearing all the costumes were white.
Right.
Yeah. I threw out a tweet the other day that was like, if this is the way we're going to do it, people of color can't dress up like knights, Vikings, Superman, Batman, throughout a list of like
most of Halloween costumes.
Roman soldiers, stuff like that.
No, the Romans were black too. You haven't been reading your history. You need to go educate yourself.
You need to go eat your
obviously.
dictionary.
And like Asian, like Mongolians were also black because
and those people in Southeastern Asia were too.
Well, if you trace my ancestry all the way back to like Africa to the first Homo sapiens, my ancestor would still be like the first white guy, the one white guy standing around.
No,
Dancing
how's this? My favorite theory I've heard so far was actually a Farkeesian, I think his name is, the Nation of Islam guy, that says that 6,000 years ago, an ancient African scientist genetically engineered white people to be slaves, and then there was a rebellion. And
that backfired.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not true?
Yeah, that's not true. Exactly. That's not it?
Oh, fuck.
Or the other one is that they were actually all the albino blacks, and they were kept as slaves. So either way, white people started in slavery. So then it's really funny that the narrative runs the other way, and now the social justice warriors are doing the other thing. So
it pains me that MTV started as a counterculture thing.
it really does, yeah. But so did the Gap. So.
Oh, come on, but it had so many years of, going to rock and heavy metal, have had Bangers Ball, and then all of a sudden...
The Bangers Ball? What? Is this a site?
Had Bangers
No, it's old MTV show.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Bangers Ball.
Had Bangers Ball.
Man, it was a staple of my childhood.
I thought this was a gangbang.
So
with
sad
so
what they
many
become.
bald people. This is so disappointing.
Yeah, we went from that to having what we have as MTV now and Disney Channel. We're seeing our movies being changed, and it's great. Like I agree with I agree with the mindset that if it doesn't fit, then don't just have white people just to have white people, but don't just have minorities in there, just have minorities. You know what I mean? Like if you do a movie that's about Mexico, don't put Asians in it just so that oppressed minority didn't make the film. Like,
well, somehow Asians never make it onto that list, if you notice.
When the fuck did MTV decide that? Yeah, I know we were like made so we could, show you guys music videos.
Yeah.
But we're gonna not do that anymore ever. That's gonna be our new model.
That's what MTV2 is for.
Yeah.
No, not even anymore.
Not even.
I would go on and say 2002, 2003.
Like,
that's when
I remember
it started.
being like fucking 12 and watching the Bloodhound Gang on there, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? This is awesome."
Nope. Now they're spreading social
Half the
interest.
bands I remember are from like MTV.
Yeah.
And now
Do you
it's
think
just like the real world.
Do you think Punk'd had a lot to do with that, like with kind of changing MTV?
And real life.
I think it was that
It was
Carson
real life.
Daly show where they started showing videos like a minute of the
Daniel
video, so they would
Tosh,
show
that
the whole
model.
video.
Whenever that model got made, that's when everything went to fuck.
Yeah,
well,
watching videos and.
Yeah, it was the internet, really. I mean, you didn't need to see MTV anymore. You had to wait on MTV for your video to show, and now you could just go on YouTube and watch it. Why the fuck would I watch MTV?
Right. Yeah,
Well,
and
I
that's.
used to, I used to let
It was a
MTV
good way to
on.
expose yourself to new music. Was the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
Well,
think
if they were
maybe with
ballsy, they would have actually continued their business model on that, but they weren't. They went completely commercial. If they were really gutsy, they would have turned into basically an indie channel, where that's where you'd go to find new music. But
Yeah, and that's where people used to go before the internet. And I think now it's like
It's just Pandora now, right? That's like the only iHeartRadio, Pandora.
What can we do to get all these people back? What can we do to be edgy, to innovate? And we have a huge market of these PC social justice warriors. Let's hire this chick, and she'll lead it. And we might sound racist. We're actually probably going to be a little bit racist, but you know what? It'll make money, so go out there.
Well, we laughingly joke that most upper middle class white guys don't watch MTV anyway, so they don't know.
Yeah.
No one's watching it.
Yeah, but look, come on, to have the whole narrative towards kids, it's just teaching him the wrong way.
It's creepy.
Because it's fine. It is creepy because if they have, I mean, I'm fine with them making videos about awareness against racism and against discrimination. I'm fine with that. But the way they're going about it is like, let's protect these people by demonizing these other people, and they claim they're not doing it. However, over and over and over, if you put the points together, you get to what it is. You get to that narrative of kind of demonizing people.
There's a guy that
maybe demonizing is not the right word, but
no, it's demonizing.
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
There's a guy, Amy Horowitz, who I suggest everybody go look into his videos, watch his videos, check him out.
Love that guy. And he's from Fox News.
Yeah, he's from Fox News. He's a centrist. But what he does is he'll go to college campuses and ask just basic questions that you would expect reasonable answers to. Like, do you support Sharia in America? Do you think there should be Sharia? And of course, people are like, yeah, no, I want Sharia over the law of the Constitution instead. Like, basic things where it's just like they're so willing to give up their rights in order to appease the races of this political empire.
They don't even. They have totally redefined racism.
Yeah, completely. Racism and the other thing. What was it? It's two of them. There's racism.
I mean, it doesn't even have a definition. It takes 4 textbook pages to explain.
No. My favorite. I saw a tweet today. Islam is a religion. Muslims are a race. What?
Oh.
Me and Baz got on a huge Twitter argument with these people, with a couple social justice warriors, just going off about racism.
Travel impacts.
The power plus prejudice, and this guy actually photographed his college textbook, like 4 pages of it, and tweeted it to us, and was like, "There you go, bam, that's racism."
Okay, listen. What's the name of that cultural practice that Isaac probably knows?
Shabazi.
No, escaped my mind. The ones with they hit themselves in the head with sword.
It's fucking. They hit themselves in the head with a sword. It's called that thing that the Sunni Muslims kill them for because they're doing something wrong. That is what I think it's called.
Yeah, but you guys all know what I'm talking about, right? There's a lot of pictures in it.
Their babies' heads and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so what if there was like even if it's just like a small demonstration of that in the middle of New York? I wonder what people were gonna say about that. Oh, it's okay, still culture.
I'm waiting for it.
Because they're cutting this kid's head.
No.
Picture.
I live in regions of America where I guarantee if that shit happened, I have no idea what the reaction would be, but this is why I'm telling people to be wary of it. It's not actually the people I'm worried about in America. It's not like I'm afraid Muslims are going to invade America. That'd be absurd. I'm afraid of the reaction to a very small minority of Muslims that are being very bad in America, because America will react badly.
Well, I don't know if I'm giving you a good example here by saying New York, because as I understand, Muslim community.
Things are a little bit sour over there ever since that plane. People have been really butthurt about Muslims. I don't know why.
Yeah, but Muslim community in America, they're really mostly are liberal. Mostly don't cause any trouble. I can pretty much say it's like the majority. of them don't cause any trouble. It's not the same as to say in London or...
I actually live in a region with a heavy Muslim population, believe it or not.
Muslims are not the problem. It's Salafis.
No.
It is a specific sect of Islam.
And they have an ease of travel to Europe that they don't have to America. So I'm less concerned for myself and more concerned for Europe.
The amount of violence a Muslim contributes can be directly correlated and calibrated by the amount of hadiths he follows. That is.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely that is the proper.
I think Adam wanted to say something.
Between that and the sunnahs, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I think Adam wanted to say
you think the anti-Muslim sentiment perhaps could be because approximately 95 or more % of terrorist attacks that are taking place are done by individuals who claim to be Muslim or doing it.
It does.
That's not in the U.S. That's in the world. In the world, it is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the world, Islam is a huge problem.
Yeah,
and
but
the US,
Adam, were you saying a point there?
Yeah, like what I'm trying to say is like I don't hear about that many Christians or that many, whoever else. It's usually like they're doing it in the name of Islam, and it's like almost every single terrorist act that I hear about it seems to be something.
We are defending our religion. Yes.
That's not the reason why people would say, okay, well, it seems that these guys are a problem.
No, yeah, you're completely right, Adam, and you would fit perfectly in our group. I mean, you're saying a lot of the same things that we have to repeat over and over again. The debate about it right now is a lot of the regressive left is saying it's geopolitical, it's all the other things except for the religion, and what we point out time and time again and what we have to debate and argue with is there a correlation between beliefs and actions, and Isaac is very good at that. Hagbar, every guy here is a professional at
and girl. I think she's pretty good at that.
Every guy and girl here will show you in depth on why it has to do with the doctrine. Go ahead.
Without prejudice, do you really feel you need to do a consensus on this issue? I mean, pretty.
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory and pretty self-evident.
It should be self-evident.
It should be, yeah. But
I don't enjoy watching some dude run over another guy with a tank. But
it's not really a fun hobby.
So Isaac's videos are just he likes to show the reality of what's going on over there. He gets a lot of footage from these terrorist groups, the stuff they record.
Every day you enable these people to kill more people. Every single day, a progressive is fighting this isolationist. We want to be by ourselves. They are indirectly allowing these actions to happen in some shape or manner.
And Adam, you got to understand too, being an outsider, this is a topic that we're talking about because this is a counteraction type of topic that we're talking about. Like
we're the minority.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be talking about this.
Left.
We probably wouldn't be talking about this if we weren't surrounded by people who are trying to apologize for the actions that are being committed and excuse them.
I work at a very, very progressive TV station, if you will. The guy, one of the men I work with.
He works for Cenk.
Yeah, that's what the
stick him out.
Yeah, if only I'd be getting paid more. Anyway. One of the guys I work with on a regular basis actually supports openly, and his whole car is covered with open supports of, and he can do that in this area with no risk of repercussions, supports Hamas and says that their actions are 100% sanctified and that Israel is an evil state that should be wiped off the map and returned to Palestine. And he honestly says this shit out loud, in public.
I
without nuance at all?
I have confronted him to the point where he no longer talks to me. I will not speak to him in any way possible.
Okay, let me just make a point real quick because before Isaac jumps in. I was just wanted to address Adam. We're not saying here that the geopolitical, sectarian and social issues are not important and do not contribute to the state of war. We're just saying that you shouldn't take religion out of the equation, nor should you diminish religion to contributing like 2%, as I've heard some apologists say.
Yeah.
We're saying that religion is a big part of it.
They think it's a flavor. It's like, oh, this is just strawberry.
this week.
A sprinkle of it.
When you have 19 scholars with PhDs, not all of them did, but you know, when you have 19 guys that are come from a Western world, fly planes into the World Trade Center, you can't say that it's geopolitical.
Done by the guy that literally owned the biggest, most successful construction company in the history of all mankind. Decided to go and live in a cave instead. Decided to play terrorist Batman. I'm going to live in the cave. I'm going to have meetings. I'm going to talk about the
voice
book.
never gets old.
It doesn't.
By the way, Isaac, I would be very, very interested in doing a stream with you and kind of trying to pull a Mystery Science Theater on terrorism. I think that would be fun.
That would be awesome.
Because you do the terrorist voice so well. Like you do this.
That would be great.
Hagbard, can I be in that? Like, can I play like the Westerner
Sure,
or
I'm
something?
all in.
I would
I'm
love
all
to
in,
play
dude.
the Westerner, like
I wanted-
the country guy, because I'm from Texas, so
Oh yeah.
Oh, are you?
yeah.
You
I
can
wanted
play
to address. Hold on, Adam. I wanted to address. You were saying something about the issue of terrorism and how since a majority of terrorist attacks were from Muslims, that's why the right was kind of painting Muslims as this kind of like other in a sense, not bad, but they're being painted as a gray figure in a sense.
Right.
So I would rather I would like the argument shifted. Terrorism's super bad, but terrorism on the mass scale, unless you're living in Africa and in the Middle East, it's really not as bad as people like making it sound. What is the revolting thing of Islam is not its ridiculous terrorism that is just the direct result of any action that's done to these people whatsoever, religious grievance action done to them, a make-believe action done to them is a call to violence to them. But that's not as bad as the way they treat themselves. That is the more repulsive and disgusting thing. Iran right now is at a state where there are going to be over 1,000 executions this year, specifically for 700 at least are going to be for drug crimes, of which when you're convicted of a drug crime, you are not allowed to appeal it. You will more than likely get a public execution. You are not allowed to defend yourself in the trial. You are not allowed to have an attorney represent you. It is contraband. Any DVDs from America?
Did you hear about the Saudi royals that got caught with a bunch of drugs?
Yeah, they flew back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a bunch of amphetamines.
Terrorist privilege, stupid. So they contraband DVDs from America are considered drugs. Alcohol is considered drug. Marijuana, tobacco considered drug. They are executing people for having these.
Satellite dishes.
Having.
Satellite dishes.
Not using. They don't have to use it. They just have to have it in the household. It is a crime. So that's just them killing themselves in the executions. That's not forcing your women to have to wear a fucking, a nappy sack, a fucking Sleepy Wonder, not fucking, what is it called? Snuggie.
Snuggie.
Big ass Snuggie. That's not you killing gays judiciously killing gays.
Yeah, the two that just got executed, the two teenage homosexuals. That was wonderful.
There's this dissidence where we focus on the terrorism that they do. We could brush aside the terrorism, and there's still plenty of human rights violations going on upon hundreds of thousands, if not millions, yearly, weekly, monthly,
and the
whatever you
question,
want to call it.
Isaac, my question is, what would be the solution to that?
The solution to that is not a pretty solution, unfortunately, because since Saudi Arabia is holding up our currency, we can't divorce them without destroying our economy in the process.
Correct. How do you feel about America recently selling $56 billion of our reserve oil? Why would be the motivation for that?
I don't know what that motivation
at a loss market. I mean, do you think that it's possible that they're attempting governmentally to convert many of our systems over to something besides oil to allow us to do that? Do you think
you think they're trying to flood the market to kill the Saudis? You think that
either that or they are trying to convert large portions of, because this is the military reserve. They sold 56 million barrels this week or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
from
our military reserves. And so the only reason we would do it was on NPR. The only reason we would do that would be we don't need it. We feel we don't need it anymore.
That's fascinating.
So I'm just posing that question. Do you think it's possible that we are attempting to either flood the market or prove that we don't need the Saudis?
I think it would be a show action. I think it would be.
That's how I read it too.
Yeah, because if we wanted to do that, we would do that. We could get off the Saudis if we invested in nuclear. That is we could get out of coal, gas, all that bullshit in a few years if we just went full nuclear, got real facilities, did the correct fusions with the minimal waste that we could have done. We could have easily.
Couldn't we do that with solar and wind power?
Just to fact check that, I just looked up what Hagbar said, and it's true. Yeah, I Google searched it, and there's like many articles talking about it.
Yeah, but nuclear power is the most cheap, most efficient, most cost-effective.
How do you feel about the salt?
And now, actually, I've read a report on nuclear power that says it does cause a lot of pollution.
No, there's two types, though. And the reason they cause a lot of pollution is because a lot of these facilities are 1970s facilities.
That's
and
why
we can't
I'm asking. Are you talking about the new salt solution?
The new ones, yes. Because we can't fix them because there's so many bullshit Greenpeace activists that have put in so many restrictions on the fucking nuclear facilities that we can't even build new ones, and we can't destroy the old ones, and we can't fix it. We just have
This is a really stupid question, but how far away are we from fusion energy?
You mean like cold fusion? Cold fusion doesn't exist.
We're as far as we know, it's impossible, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. We just don't know how to do it yet.
Well, yeah, everything of the 21st century.
Were you referring to like salt reactions?
Yeah, the Fukushima one was a good example. Like the only reason that went bad is because they built it on a fucking earthquake line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you fucking.
That's just...
It's so
stupid. I don't understand the
Yeah.
thinking there either. No, that's exactly how I felt. I was that dismissive of that too. I was like, why would you have done that? I don't understand why you would even consider that a
I'm
good
gonna
idea.
build my nuclear power plant on your water.
Just as a dorky gamer, I've been playing games like SimCity. And I know that that's probably not a genius idea. When an earthquake happens and you have one of those facilities, shit goes wrong.
Yeah. And so, like, nuclear energy would be the key that we need to get rid of the Saudi tit that we're stuck on. And even then, our dollar is going to take a big hit. It's going to take a nasty fucking hit. And then we would have to impose sanctions on all of the Arab countries that are committing human rights violations, which is all of them.
All for that.
All of them.
Every single one of them.
But wouldn't the world be pretty pissed off if we did that?
Well, it would have to be a unilateral, uniform act.
I couldn't see the UN going in on that.
At the very least, the majority of the West and China.
And Europe. Europe has to do it.
As I said, the West.
Yeah, I couldn't see the UN doing that. Why is Saudi Arabia the head of the UN?
Should though.
Well,
It's not the head.
No, yeah. Here's the bigger problem: is if we did manage to get to the point where we could sanction all of these countries doing human rights violation, there are so many of them that they could form their own economy between themselves.
Yeah. You know, that would almost be what we were talking about earlier. That could be something that would unite a lot of those countries.
Exactly.
To say, we don't believe in the same things, but the world is against us. We got to kind of unite.
Yeah, they'd be the new Red Scare. They'd be the new communism.
There's no simple solution to this, but that is the only way that we could ever get on the. I mean, it's going to lead to a war, but that is the route of which we could start to protect human rights.
That would be a world war, I would guess.
That'd be a world war of global human rights. That'd be the first war for human rights.
Yeah,
they would basically be a Warsaw Pact between them.
Mm-hmm.
They would trade amongst themselves, and basically militarily they would be like a Warsaw Pact.
But they would be fucking surrounded. I mean, it would not be it would be a bloody war, but it wouldn't be an easy war for them unless they got their hands on a nuclear
I don't think that would ever. I think we could.
The problem with that is if you want to have that war, you have to. One, they're not all united. They're united economically. They're against each other. Nationally, so we would have to go over and imperialistically take over every single nation over there and essentially deem it ours, and that's not going to go over well. That's just not going to go over well.
It would be a fight of the civilized world versus the non-civilized world.
It's basically quarantine, or
almost like North Korea.
I don't know the answer, honestly.
I can see it almost like a North Korea thing. Like, we don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with us.
Well, we trade
talk
with North
shit.
Korea. We give them tough sanctions, but we still trade with North Korea. We let tourism
is a big trade over there. We
Yeah,
allow
yeah.
people to fly
Although
in.
they do tend to tail us when we go over there for tourism.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way to separate ourselves from this radical dollar. Essentially, is what this is.
Okay, so
I mean, the reason it's like this is because we no longer use gold as a form of our currency. The dollar used to be able to
Or as
be
reserve.
be collected upon for gold. Now it's just collected upon for currency, and there's no way to make value where there is no value.
right.
That is
Creating
why-
money out of nothing.
So a question
listen,
that I
what do you
asked
guys-
earlier, and Nisha, you clarified this a little bit. Why is Saudi Arabia, and I said the head, but maybe that's not correct.
No,
Why are they even?
they don't have a leadership. They are part of the panel on human rights. They don't have a leadership position.
Well,
but they
clarify
have
that.
been-
Clarify that, because not everyone will know what we're talking about.
Well, they were. There's a lot of news about it. It's just Saudi Arabia joined the panel for human rights as the main panel for human rights in the United Nations, but they do not have a leadership position. But they do have a significant vote on those issues, and they will
would you
be
say
at the
that's a
table
good thing?
discussing them.
Would you say that's a good thing because maybe it might be a learning experience for them, or would you say
Not
it's a
at
bad
all.
thing because they
No,
have
it's-
influence?
No, it's a bad thing because it's basically shoulder brushing whatever they do right now. Because if you put them in the human rights panel, when they have one of the most of the countries with the most violations of human rights, you're not doing anything good. The panel should be against countries that violate human rights, not accommodating them.
They can't even define terrorism because 33% of the countries in the UN would be classified as terrorism.
Yeah, don't go with that. Like I had
So how about
political-
them raising the Palestinian flag? That was brilliant.
Yeah, but don't worry. Maybe they'll raise the Kurdish flag too. I'm sure Turkey would support
Yeah, I'm sure
one.
that would really help.
Fucking hypocrites.
I had political science in college, and we spent almost the whole semester talking about the definition of terrorism. Like, no.
It's not simple, but that doesn't mean that you avoid doing it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, I know, but it seems pretty direct at the time.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Well, I mean, the problem is you have to classify it as the intentional assault and murder of civilians, essentially, is what it is. People will just blanketly say that, well, that's us because we killed civilians. As if our intent was just, fuck the Afghani civilians in the hospital, you're gonna fucking die!
Talk with Jimmy Dore about that.
We haven't been allowed to do that for a long time. It was, however, one of our very, very. It's a functional technique. They made what's his name? Mitchell, General Mitchell, flamed out because he said that in public. That the only way to functionally win a war that is a total war is to bomb intentionally civilian populations, because that's what we did in World War II. That's what we did in Japan. That's what happens.
And that bonfire in Dresden's pretty
Yeah,
bad.
is that nice? No, it's not. But that's how we won those wars. Now, when he said that publicly, he was actually kicked out of the military for behavior unbecoming of an officer.
Look, there was I can give you an
Telling
example of
trade
that.
secrets.
I can give you an example of that. During the war in Kosovo, the NATO bombed communications, satellite
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, the
exactly.
radio tower. Same day as
They
Charlie.
bombed the radio trial. A lot of civilians died, and someone said it was a war crime. They actually talked about it in an international tribunal, and it was deemed that it was not a war crime because the intention was specifically to cut down the communications with the Milosevic government at the time, and the casualties could be considered just collateral damage because their number wasn't high enough to be considered something that would be done intentionally to kill people. And if you look at that decision, it's pretty clear what they consider as war crimes or as intentional bombing of civilians.
Yeah, well, that's like saying it's a war crime that we would in like I said, like I use as the examples in World War II or even Vietnam and North Korea, bombing plants like factories that are producing weapons. Civilians work in those fucking factories.
I'm gonna give you a
But they're
good example
making
on that.
weapons,
Just think about it.
so-
I'm going to give you an example. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just had to
No, go ahead.
get out of my head. I give you an example that made you think about it, but probably you already thought about it. Look at Return of the Jedi. When they bombed the second Death Star that was being built.
Yeah.
You have
A
my
lot of
attention.
people were working. A lot of people were working there, just building the infrastructure, just doing like all the jobs.
There were
They
probably a
were
lot of contractors on that job.
Yeah, nothing to
Thirst
do with the
argument.
Empire. Nothing to do with the Empire, and the rebels fucking bombed it. Are the rebels war criminals?
Yes.
By
But that's
definition,
exactly,
Nobody
that's
gives a
exactly
fuck.
what I'm saying.
Dumb question, lady.
Well, I mean, it's just it's putting the end
Onus.
result above why. I mean, we did it because we bomb factories because they're producing weapons, and to beat your enemy, one must stop their production and maintenance of their weapons. I mean, that's just logical.
Are you sure?
But yeah, well, it helps.
Maybe we
It
can
greatly
talk it
helps.
out. Maybe we could be like, please don't
Yeah,
do
that's the
it.
thing. That's what I've told. I've argued people out of pacifism in the region I live in right now. Where I'm like, no, you don't understand the rules of the game. You can say you're a pacifist, but that doesn't stop that person from killing you. You die morally right. Like has that really?
Well, I mean, God wanted us to dance and waltz into the fucking gas chambers. So, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
Now-
just not big on that. I've never been big on that.
I'm
Yeah,
not too keen on
That was a quote. I think Gandhi said something about that. You know, the Jews were a tool for the rest of the world to see, you know, what was going on there, and they should have went in there. They should have walked into the gas
Big
chambers.
talk from a brown man that didn't have to go into a gas chamber. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I completely
Seriously.
agree. Yeah, and to demean
It was
what went
supposed
on
to
there.
horrify the world, in his words, is what he said.
Yeah,
that was just supposed to be permanent. That would never happen again because we as a species never forget history.
The
and repeat
Nazis
it,
would
right?
capitalize. They'd be like, look, the Jews are having a great time. Go on.
Well, you know, I hear they did have spas and pools in those death camps, so I'm questioning the narrative.
They were getting all these free train rides.
right.
It just
Nothing
makes me
to
think
do
of
They
the
had a
South Park
social
movie.
union of
Well, no, the one
workers
thing
all
I do
talking
like-
with each other.
The
Makes
one
me
thing I
think
do
of the
like
South Park
pointing out-
movie where they put in
And
all
these
the
blue
Canadians in the
pajamas.
death camps. Did we say death camps? We meant happy camps.
Right.
Yeah.
The one thing I do like pointing out, though, is that the first thing, or one of the major tools that Hitler did use, indeed, to demonize the Jews was to say that they were a privileged class in Germany.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so that's a point that I know that we're gonna get on, and we've had a great chat, guys. I gotta wrap it up.
I know, man.
Okay,
Yeah, it's-
fine. It's
I
7
hate
o'clock
to.
here.
I wish.
I gotta jerk
I
off in
know.
a cup.
I wish it was like Friday night or Saturday night, but I gotta work tomorrow, and it's 2 o'clock here.
Understood.
Man, it's been a great chat, all of you guys. Like, thank
Yeah,
you,
and-
all of you, for coming
Thank
out.
you. Thanks a lot for having me and for
No,
talking.
Thank you.
No, and I'm so glad of like the people that I had here, because all of you to me are intellects. Like, I respect every one of you. I'm glad that I could have you guys here and have all of your input. I learned a lot. I asked a lot of questions and I learned a lot. Like I said earlier, I'm not one to say something and then it's, you know, I'm here to learn. So I'm glad to have all of you guys.
Same here.
I hope that we can do this again soon, very soon. And you guys are always welcome. So I'm gonna ask Anthony if he'll put this on his channel. I'm
gonna mirror it to mine too.
Yeah.
I'll take
Yeah.
a small
Please.
snippet or something.
Yeah. Take whatever you guys want. It's open. So, but I do music videos, so you know it's kind of weird to have it on my channel.
Yeah.
But since it's kind of a flying monkey thing, I'll see if Anthony will put it on his. But
Yeah, you should divide that the music part with these kind of talks.
yeah, definitely.
Probably for the
definitely.
best.
If you guys haven't seen it, I just made an atheist music video. Go check that out. Like,
I can't because
yeah,
it's
I
not
actually-
available.
no,
Yeah,
I
that's
did they put a thing on mine, and I did a response, and I quoted the Copyright Act. Supposedly, if you do that, it's supposed to nullify what they do. So I have a fight going on right now. Hopefully, it'll get removed. If you send me your email, if you IM me your email, I will send it to you. I just watched it earlier with Robert. He said he liked it. Hopefully, you guys will like it.
That was well done. It really was. That whole end part, like it makes the viewer the whole time through it go, what the? Okay, which side are you on? It's almost like the fluctuation, but then towards the end, it comes to clarity. It was really well done.
Oh, you saw it, Hagbard?
Yeah, you emailed it to me. I appreciate it. I
Oh,
actually was
okay,
going to
cool.
use it tonight, but I couldn't rip it from the format you gave it to put it on the show. I was going to use it as our intro, but I just
Oh,
didn't.
awesome.
If I could manage to rip it, I will.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, if you can, that'd be really cool. Yeah, send me whatever you put it on.
Yeah,
But,
I will.
yeah, thank you guys very much. I'm gonna.
Thank you, Nisa. Very good to meet you.
It was very nice to meet you
everyone.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hagbard,
good.
we'll all
Definitely
be
good
back
to meet you
soon, hopefully.
guys.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Take it easy, guys.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah. No. Oh, let's see. I don't know how I'm gonna break this up. Oh shit, still got the thing going. Let's see. How do I? Thank you for watching. Whoever watched this, have a good night.
Smoke weed every day.